Why, hello there. How are you? Good to see you. Or is it nice to meet you? Well, no matter. You can still call me Loki. Now then, shall we begin? How are we all doing, everyone? I see Dark Souls I click. Well, that's good to see, Slow Typer. Howdy, Xavier. Good to see you. Wow, Loki, I didn't know you were into From Software games. Yeah, I know. It's strange. I didn't think I'd be into them either, but, I just kind of tried this new one, and, it just surprisingly clicked with me. And suddenly I'm at the end game. Loki Dark Souls. Playing Dark Souls? There must be a mistake. Hey, Sneed. Good to see you in the chat. Nicolino. Hey, Dark Souls lore. Yeah. Evening, Loki. Hey there. I am a Dark Souls stream. No way. Yes. Unfortunately, I've not been able to get to this next episode of the Dark Souls lore play lately because, unfortunately, just schedule hasn't lined up. I will promise you, all of you, that I will never do another lore play like this where I am so anal about the time and length of which I want it to happen. I will make sure I do shorter episodes with more flexible time scales, but again, if you guys still want it at least around this hour, preferably, then yeah, I'm fine with that too. But yeah, I won't be so strict about it. Because before I'd be like, it's an hour late, I can't do it. No, I can only do it for like an hour shorter than I normally do it. Hey, Nicholas. Hi, just read Abyssal Archive. It was fantastic. I'm so glad. Well, you're going to love this series then. My favorite part of DS1 lore is that what Dark Souls is in explained by very easily misapplicable NPC. I don't know what you're trying to say there. I think you made a typo somewhere. Hey, for me, this is the perfect time. Good to know I am. Yeah, I tried to do it this because I figured it'd be the perfect time. But like I said, I'm gonna, in the future, I'm not going to be as strict about this. I'm going to go back to more like my Dark Souls 3 lore play, was a lot more flexible about, like, hours and stuff. Because I do think that has hurt the lore play more than it's helped, just because I have been kind of forcing myself to kind of, like, stick to a schedule that I'm not able to keep to for just how long these go. But that's fine. Today we can do it. Now, when we last left off, we were defeating good old Seath the Scaleless. We then decided we would go plunge into the DLC. And we defeated a very, very mean lion. And, well, as we can see back here, that lion has got friends. Oh, wait, it's not here yet. Okay, phew, good. Oh, thank goodness. I didn't want to die instantly as soon as this started. Pre-order Demonic Archive. Any chance we're getting future TNF lore book? We'll see. I'm more than willing to do it if you guys are interested. It's just, again, gotta finish my, my manuscripts for those. Easily missed NPC. I get what you're trying to say them there. Yeah, because of Gough. Anyway, but last time, after defeating Seath and plunging into the DLC, we were able to go meet up with Elizabeth, who was telling us how poor old Dusk got kidnapped again. What a shocker. And then she's asking us to go over and help because Artorias was there to save her, but you know what? Elizabeth has zero confidence that Artorias can actually handle the abyss that he's facing right now, so you know what? If that's what he's up against, we'll be the good heroes that we are who saved Dusk and go in and check up on our pal, the hero Artorias. I read, did you ever get around to take a picture of the possible flower lore in this DLC? No. I'll be honest, Xavier, I don't even remember if there was ever a topic of conversation. Either way, please, again, keep things unrelated to the lore play out. I'm not going to be answering questions for other series or things right now. Are these statues shaped like humanity sprites? Again, if you remember where we last let off, I even sort of alluded to that last time, but yes, they do bear a striking resemblance to the humanity sprites, especially from behind. I wonder what that could be hinting at. Again, recall that this is where we looted a humanity. But anyway, as you can see here, this is where the Sith boss arena once was, but now it has become this actual mausoleum, quote-unquote. Again, they call it a sanctuary in the localization, but the idea is quite simple, though you can see the resemblance, right? There's a vague resemblance to Artorias' grave, to this part of the quote-unquote mausoleum and things. We can also see the white trees of Oolacile, one of which Elizabeth is attached to. She's also one of the only mushroommen we see without proper limbs, though it's not clear if that's kind of just a thing they can do, where it's like, oh, sometimes they'll be part of a tree, sometimes they won't, right? At the very least, she doesn't turn violent in any, dangerous fashion, so. Again, as we can see, these seem to be the white trees of Oolacile that they use for their peculiar light magic. We can also see over here, not only do we see more of these white trees, we also see these plants. They act as little cages for these little lights and stuff. If you may recall, we see these same lights coming from flowers in Darkroot Garden. So sort of giving us, again, more of a connection between the past and the present. Do mushroom people have society and culture? They do seem to have the intelligence and have some sort of, at least, primitive society that we saw in the Ash Lake and stuff, right? Where they sort of all come together as sort of this big, you know, mushroom colony, you could say, right? But it's unclear how developed that is. We have to keep in mind that, again, the lords were the ones who established the first kingdoms, right? So it seems to be very tribal, if anything. But as we can see, when the some of the mushroom men move from the underground up top, likely at the behest of the gods, as we will see going forward, and they had made contact with Oolacile, and as we heard from Elizabeth, she talked about how she is one with the sorceries of Oolacile.
Thank goodness thou art safe.
Oh. Purchasing the items and stuff. Again, you can see how Elizabeth provides us with repair powder and golden pine resin. Now, again, this term for pine resin, or turpentine, right, is this idea of, well, okay, it's talking about, like, a tree type of extract, but it's strangely always associated with the mushroom men, which, again, sort of hints at stuff, and Dark Souls 3 would later confirm this, to be actually a byproduct of mushrooms, not necessarily trees. Now, you can make an argument that in the Dark Souls universe, mushrooms are considered part of the plant kingdom. Again, not actual, you know, kingdom society, but, you know, in terms of the whole biology thing, right? So you can make the case that just as there's an evolution between from dragons to all the animals, and the arch trees and all the plants in the world, that the mushrooms are somewhere in that plant family tree. Elizabeth Smasher Pass. I'm sorry, I'm not into mushrooms, especially when they're old lady mushrooms. These deep white trees have deeper meaning, if I'm right. We will get to that. Yes, everything evolved. Again, go back to earlier episodes, guys. Again, I'm gonna avoid trying to, like, you know, repeat myself too much on some of that stuff. Again, if you are new here, I do recommend watching the full playlist. Don't want to drag that down for the longtime watchers and VOD viewers. Anyway, so we also, of course, have the catalyst here, which, again, much like with Dusk, it's a white tree branch that is essentially used as a sorcery staff, right? Again, one of the more important parts is that it does not rely on intelligence for the strength of the sorceries or anything like that. It relies on the natural magic, and this becomes especially important because, as we see, Oolacile, despite being incredibly developed as a sorcery culture, is not developed in the same way that, say, Seath's magics and all those schools of sorcery that stem from his are developed. They're not about sort of offensive or, you know, trying to find a solution to the problem. They're more lackadaisical. So therefore, you see a lot more of this kind of like, we don't really need to, like, focus on trying to min-max the damage, right? Again, this is a very peaceful culture where we would be entering into if not for current events. Was Oolacile independent or subject to Manor Londo? We will talk about that a bit more, but we can infer from the proximity and going back to the old church that we find with the Oolacilian architecture in Undead Parish and Darkroot Garden, the way that it bridges those two areas, that Oolacile and Manor Londo were very close. And I've talked about this before with some of the Nito followers and stuff, so again, we're going to keep that there. Oh, speaking of which, hey, Nobre, he's here! Anyway. Then, again, we can see, again, the different spells and stuff. If I recall correctly, I think most, if not all of these, are also taught by Dusk, if I recall. So, again, we can get an idea of Oolacile magic, not that intensive in terms of the intelligence requirement stuff, and it's all sort of things where you're like, okay, deals with typical things we see associated with light, the ability to sort of lessen one's presence or existence by messing around with time and space, right? You also have just simple casting a light. Again, Vinheim has not discovered this. We have, of course, repair, which sort of takes the principles of, we have repair here, which sort of takes some of the principles of repair powder and sort of ends up making it where, okay, this golden light powder, again, for those that don't know, that's one of the things that are missing from localization, the name here. You take that golden light powder and sort of take that principle but apply it to a sorcery. It does the same thing but for weapons and armor and stuff, which again gives us the idea that these are spells which manipulate time, right? Again, light and time intrinsically connected. And then, of course, we have a chameleon, which will receive a bit more lore connected to it expressly in relation to Dusk in Dark Souls 3. We can already kind of infer this idea from how Dusk laughed and stuff when we were talking to her before and things, that she's a very playful person. She's very young. She has this sort of naivete to her. She might be even potentially a teenager in this game compared to some of the others, which we would assume to be about, like, young adults or give or take. But, yeah, so just giving sort of a sense here of, like, okay, you can even manipulate, you know, the appearance of something, even though it doesn't, you know, necessarily require a actual physical transformation. It's just an illusion spell of sorts. Does Dusk have a sister called Dawn? You never know. Don't give Miyazaki ideas for Dark Souls 4.
May the flames guide thee.
And as I've talked about last time, May the Flames Guide Thee is the same line as Varior Nox from the base game. Again, the localization got really creative and decided they were going to make it into Latin, but with the DLC, I guess they gave up on that and started having Elizabeth just saying it in Old English. It should be noted that Dusk in the base game, I think, also says it this way, so maybe they were hoping to go for some consistency there. Either way, they were not very consistent when they were comparing it to, say, the Way of White characters and stuff, but this would ultimately be dropped in Dark Souls 3, and they would just make it all consistent, where it's like, okay, by the guidance of fire, may fire guide you, or as they put it specifically, may the flames guide thee. Alrighty, let me do this real quick. Make sure that we got some healing, no problems here. Let's turn on our HUD. There we go. And now, our good old penitent thief, who is 100% hasn't turned to the dark side. Yep. Nope. Not at all. He's going to continue on his merry way through here. Again, we can see, of course, a tower, which was not present in the, well, present day. We can see, though, the same river and thing, which we would have to cross in order to enter Sif's arena. Obviously, there's less water and stuff that would be flowing out to help contribute to this river and things, compared to when it's Sif's boss arena. Though we do see a little bit of that kind of idea with the water in the Sanctuary Guardian boss room with the pools back there and stuff. So you can already see the beginnings of what would become the present day. Also, it's not easy to tell, but the trees in the DLC are also slightly smaller than they are in the present day, again, to reflect how this is hundreds of years in the past, and therefore time has changed. Wait, are you a baddie, Loki? No. I speak for goodness, the true, one true world and morality. Free of the gods! So, sorry about that, that just kind of slipped out there. Anyway. As we can see here, it's a familiar yet unfamiliar place. This is the Royal Wood, or the Royal Family or Royalties Forest Garden. So again, giving the idea that the Darkroot Garden is called such because it used to belong to the royal family. They had an entire forest. Ooh. Oh, this is gonna be interesting. Doing this, huh? Oh. Thankfully, they can be very easily removed. Now again, our first encounter is, of course, with the tree men we see in the present day, except in this case, they are gardeners. They have their own little cloth thing, though you can argue whether it's cloth or some type of plant matter, right? But as we can see, they look less wild. Their heads and things are a lot more, you know, not with all the crazy wild hair that they would have in the present day and stuff, right? They just overall look more normal and sane. Which makes sense. Obviously, after Oolacile's collapse, we can very much imagine that these tree men, who seem to be working as the royalty's gardeners, would sort of end up becoming one with nature and kind of going wild when they no longer have commands for the longest time from the remaining residents, specifically the royals. Did the water area sink more below? That it's hard to say. But we do know that this river and things here is already beginning to contribute to the Darkroot Basin, as we're familiar with. So that gorge is already in existence and will be filled with water by the time we get to the present day. Again, we see our favorite flowers, providing a nice little subtle guidance for us as well. And again, we can see how there's this consistent association between white and light with the flowers and trees of Oolacile. Our next friend, another Stone Knight. Now, unlike the Stone Knights in the base game, these are much bulkier. They appear... Oh, Forgot about that for a second. They're much bulkier, of course, than the knights that we are familiar with. They also have much less wieldy weaponry. Oh, that was some tracking. Oh, that's not what I wanted either. Woo. There we go. Thankfully, even if they're stone, we can, in fact, make them stagger. Woo! Beautiful. Now, as we will learn if we acquire their weapons and such, or rather, I don't think we can get their weapons, but their armor and such, we can, in fact, learn that these are stone knights that aren't designed for battle in the same way that the other ones were with their miracles they would use and their swords and all that. These were more designed for civil engineering. In other words, that there's a construction project of sorts that is occurring in this royal wood. We'll learn more about that as we proceed. But again, this is sort of the first hints that there's something that's been going on in Oolacile before the Abyss showed up. And these guys are sort of still operating. Also, again, going back to my point about talking about Seath here. There we go. I talked about previously about how Seath would be sending his forces down into Darkroot Garden, seemingly to collect magic and knowledge on Oolacile that might contribute to his research. He suddenly looks out the window and notices, hey, you know, there's an entire country of magic, and it's in ruins now, so maybe I should do something about that. And we see, of course, his servants there. Now, we don't see any of those servants in the DLC, despite the fact that Dusk's entire questline in the base game revolves around her essentially getting kidnapped from this world by a crystal golem. Now, even though we don't see the crystal golems themselves, we do see the products that they drop, the Titanite and the such, dropped by the Stone Knights, giving us the implication that all the crystal golems we don't see were all killed by these stone golems here, and that, you know, just one happened to get through the cracks and happened to kidnap Dusk. Most of these are poor farmers. Well, you know what? These poor farmers are going to be poorer now because they're dead. I'll be honest, I did that a little too early, chat. We're gonna be here a while. My tiny knife. Oh, that was way too early. Woo. Yeah, that's what I thought. Did the golems get to Oolacile thanks to them ending up overlapping with the time period where Oolacile was still up? Yes, this is essentially the implication, is that the crystal golems, much like everything else in this world, is affected by the stagnant flow of time, and so some of the golems slipped into the past, where they would be defeated by the stone golems of this past period, and then the one that kidnapped Dusk happened to slip back into the present, where we would encounter it and kill it before it could bring Dusk back to Seath's area. We could see this, the same idea seems to have happened with Manus's, stone amulet? Not amulet, pendant? Where's key items? There we go. Right? We acquired this from a crystal golem that did make it back to Seath's archives, but it's with the same implication, that it ended up in the past, it swallowed up someone or something or whatever that had the pendant with it, and then ended up bringing that back over to its master, where we kill it, and then we use the pendant. Well, we don't use it, you know, consciously, right? But because we happen to approach a dark magic portal with the pendant on us, it is likely a factor into why Manus's arm reaches out and grabs us, dragging us into the past. Now, again, it seems like Manus sort of just randomly let go of us during that time travel, because we end up so far away from, well, where Manus is, compared to Dusk, who, as Elizabeth tells us, was also dragged by the arm and taken all the way to her location. So, again, that is something to keep in mind. Again, as we can see here, many, many golems, many, many gardeners. What do you expect? It's a big place. Needs lots of upkeep. Oh. That outranging me is definitely a problem. Ah, too early. Ooh. Again, we can see similar pools like this in the present day, so we can see that, again, the terrain itself hasn't changed much. It's mostly just the trees are a bit younger. We will be talking about the Jester in a bit, I am. Please, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Oh, look, the Shadewood flowers. Yes, looks like there are, in fact, some flowers connected to DS2 and stuff, so I'll be sure to examine those another time in relation to my future Dark Souls 2 book. You never know, that'll happen. Speaking of books, if you enjoy what you're seeing here, maybe you might want to consider getting a purchase of Abyssal Archive. The most comprehensive, consistent, and comprehensible account of Dark Souls lore ever be put to paper. I would highly recommend it. You can purchase it in both physical and digital copies. In fact, we have recently come out with now a softcover version of Abyssal Archive for those who wanted something that, you know what, could be a little cheaper. Maybe it's not as high quality and as long-lasting, maybe, as a hardcover copy would be. But you know what? It's still really good and really high quality. I can attest. It looks amazing. So if you guys want to consider that as another option, it's there. So yeah. Check the link in the description, and you'll be able to find your way to the purchasing site. In fact, I should add the link to Toon and Fairweather's website directly again. Forgot to do that for this episode. I'll do that after stream. Whoop. Uh-oh, we have a friend. Uh-oh. He has a friend. Loki, I'll be 30 by the time you start a Dark Souls 2 lore play. Listen, I'll be like 110 by the time I start a Dark Souls 2 lore play. That's how unenthused I am about doing that. Woo! Coolio. Again, we see... Oh! We see my death. Should've rolled that. I thought I could outrun him. So Flow of Time beat Kabalu is more of an explanation for multiplayer. Yes, again, I'm not going to repeat myself on this. This is about a stagnant flow of time. Please watch the lore play from the beginning of the playlist. Not going to go into the old spiel. Why are flowers so distinct here? If we're talking about the white flowers, again, we will get into that more into the idea of Oolacile being a country that revolves around light, the presence of the Mushroom Men, and their seeming connection to the light that is with the golden pine resin and the golden light powder. Again, light powder, in this case, the powder is a metal powder specifically, right? So it's sort of metal that is either naturally gold or is otherwise infused with the power of golden light. Either way, you sort of get the idea. Yes, 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 yes. Right. But if we're talking about not the light flowers, oh, then it's a garden. So again... Hey, buddy. So, of course, you're going to have different flowers and stuff being grown here. For the purposes of the royal family, like Dusk, getting to walk around here and enjoy it. As we can see, Dusk likes to hang out and talk to Elizabeth as her wet nurse. So the idea that Dusk regularly visits this area and so would be in the place where a crystal golem might nab her is very much believable. Let's talk about where you died. Listen, that's gonna get more and more vague as we continue on, so thank God you dropped that now. I'm gonna die many other places. Again, we can see that unlike in the present day, in the past, there are these elevators. These wonderful lifts. Woo! Away! Some Guardian Gauntlets. He's trying, chat. Woo. Ow! Meanie. Again, as you look, this place is also in ruins, very similar to how it is already. So not much has changed there. But again, there's this large tower, and in fact, connected to it, an entire cityscape, which is not here in the present day. As we can see, much of Oolacile that we are familiar with are ruins we cannot explore in this game. We cannot go to the fortress, for example, though we can go to a city which is in the same location as the fort. So we have to just imagine the fort that we experience. This is where we fight the Moonlight Butterfly, if you recall, and we have to go around dodging Stone Knights in order to get to that boss fight, right? All of that is connected to this larger idea of a cityscape which existed with Stone Knights acting as sort of its police force, right? Woo! Our first encounter with Calamity. Woo! So again, serving as sort of oh, there. I was trying to have a moment with Calamity there. Anyway, so much like with our experience with Hellkite, we get to kind of have Calamity sort of drop down on our little bridge area, kind of look at us and be like, okay, whatever, and move on. Clearly not impressed. Also, I apologize if I ask you've already answered before. Yeah, no problem there. I also apologize if I just tell you, please, to go back and watch older episodes then. So don't worry, no hard feelings. Just want to keep things moving along. Now again, if I recall correctly, I think this is also... There should be a pool here with... Yeah. There's a pool here with a chest, much like how it was... Oh. Ow! Ow! Well, I tried. Calamity's a lonely dragon, shake my head. Good for him, he's a lizard. If he's a cousin of Hellkite, then he deserves all the loneliness he can get. Anyway. But yeah, again, much like how in the present day, there is a chest which gives us a magic ember. Again, reflecting the high-quality magic that was present in Oolacile for, well, specifically sorcery, I should clarify. Not just any sort of magic, right? But of course, as we know, despite the fact that they have a lot of that blue, which I've connected to moonlight type of magic, or moonlight-related magic, moonlight-adjacent, you might even say, the magic that we see from Oolacile is still primarily its light sorcery. Just plain old light sorcery. Now you would say, well, what's the difference between that and, say, like the moonlight stuff and whatever that we see connected to? Well, this light sorcery specifically has to do with relation to sunlight. Again, recall the white miracles related to the god's power over sunlight as well. You. There we go, we get a blue Titanite slab instead. Ow! Man, I cannot... The farmer cannot take any punishment. Just frickin' flinch at everything. We're gonna have to get used to that. No Bray, would which trees be Oolacile made? No Bray, I'm not going to answer that question because it has to do with Dark Souls 2 stuff. And again, I'm not answering questions, anything unrelated to the lore play right now. Again, we're trying to keep focus. This is not the Ask Loki Anything type stream. Was it with the cat creatures appearing in the area later? The cats will actually be something we'll talk again more when we, you know, dive deeper into good old Alvina. Loki's only answering questions about good games. Yeah, sure, that'll be the policy, Sneath. Ow. I got slammed. Oh. Hey! How rude. You can't just go up the butt like that. At least dinner and a movie first. Again, we can see here, this is another area where we had a river, except there is no major river here. That's curious. I wonder what's going on there. We do see a small trickling stream, though, so maybe we'll figure out what's happening. And again, we see how it all ties back to that tower. Oh! Thank you. We got ourselves a Titanite Lizard, chaps. Now, as you may notice, the Titanite Lizard has fallen into a very suspicious place. You may notice all the purple, sludgy-like material here at the edges. You might even notice how the walls are also afflicted with it. This blue, dark blue, and purplish material. Ooh. There we go. Frickin' gardeners. Still growing that moss, though. Some things never change. You may even notice this little dark little auras, sort of miasma of shadow, you could say, that appears out of these holes. Very suspicious. The most important one is actually here. This very, very large one. Keep this in mind as we continue to explore in probably future episodes. Depends on how far we get today. Again, we can see the stream from here, which would lead over to, recall there was a ladder from the waterfall in Darkroot Basin. Oh. Ow! Don't see that here now. Oh. Ah! I swear everyone's trying to get me, chat. They're all out to get me. Listen, I know I'm intruding on the royalty's garden, but come on. We can see some again. Some proud knights have perished. Across from there, there's where my souls were, chat. There's where my souls once were. Again, you can even see these splotchy materials, these these strange growths here. Clumps of that dark matter, which gives us a sense that, yes, the way it explodes and stuff when we hit it, this is the Abyss. So the Abyss in Oolacile is coming from beneath the Royalty's Forest Garden, which again, remember that the Royalty's Forest Garden is also the place where the royals, or at the very least, the if possibly the entire general populace of Oolacile's mausoleum is located. Again, whether it's for the royalty or the general populace, isn't that important. Ultimately, the lore implications will be the same when we get there. Oh. Them outranging me. But at least we have that, right? We will get to more details about Madness as we actually pace him. Again, we can see the gardeners doing their job. These guys seem to be so busy they don't care what's going on with us. These guys, though, without the clippers, they most certainly do. Come on, buddy. Come on. There we go. We got some more of them up here. There we go. Did the area have a royal family? Yes, Dusk is a princess, and this is called the Royalty's Forest Garden. So, yes, Oolacile did in fact have a royalty. Again, more of these holes and the like. Instant death if we go down there. But again, reinforcing the idea that, yes, Oolacile, as we know it, is being consumed by an abyss, which is coming, again, from deep below its garden, where its mausoleum is located. And that will be very important information for the future. Again, this is also where we will encounter, of course, Calamity and stuff. We can obviously not beat him in this current state, so I will not even bother trying. I do not have the skill with a bow. And nor do I have the patience to just snipe him with arrows infinitely. So we shall instead... There we go. We shall instead move on. Oh my gosh. Some Gough Great Arrows. Very relevant for the future. Ah, damn. Should have dodged the other way. Made a mistake. Whoop. Gave the full armor though soon. Woo. I think we've more or less cleared out this area. I don't think we're missing too many important places at least. Right? Yeah, we're going now the same way that we went before. What was the socio-political effects of Oolacile falling to the abyss? Destruction. Total destruction. Anarchy. The socio-political effects were anarchy. Went absolutely wild. There was no government structure at that point, and it all collapsed. Yes, we can see as we can see, the abyss has in fact been deteriorating the buildings as well, not just the garden, right? Now we're gonna head this way. While we do that, we're gonna go check in with the equipment, as I mentioned before. Again, similar to the Stone Knight equipment, we go around and collecting it. So again, we have this stone helm here. Very similar. But then we have... Oh, do I not have the... Oh, I haven't picked up the other one yet. Whoops. I have picked up the one for here, though, right? There we go, the Guardian armor. Yeah, so again, similar idea. Armor of the Stone Knights, Guardians of the Forest Sanctuary, or Mausoleum in this case. The Stone Knights are golems animated by magic, and their chain armor is oppressively heavy, right? So again, very similar stuff. In this case, it's confirming, again, they are in fact golems. Again, this is another point that is worth comparing to, as said before, Anor Londo. Again, recall that golem craft was something that we see the gods specialize in, and mainly seem to be the source of. So the fact that we see golems also in Oolacile, in both the present day, in the remaining Stone Knights, who, as you may recall, were all moss-covered and all this stuff, so they've clearly been lingering around ever since the destruction of Oolacile, though we don't see them in the DLC. They're out there somewhere, right? And they will eventually become some of the enemies who we see, like, laying around in the areas that we cannot access, because, again, we cannot go to the fort in this present time. Though, again, the fort's location was roughly somewhere around here in this cityscape. The Church of Oolacile, which we cannot visit either, was also somewhere located in this area. If I recall correctly, it's supposed to be, like, around there or something of that sort. So, again, everything sort of lines up to the idea that everything that we explore are ruins of this city, which has otherwise sunk into the abyss and has been completely buried in the hundreds of years since. Did Oolacile commit tax evasion? I'm not going to be answering those joke questions anymore then, if that's how we're going to do it. What was Gwyn's tax policy? Gwyn's tax policy is... His tax policy was souls, there. You guys. Oh, this is going to be a not-so-fun run back. Soul of a brave warrior. Again, as we can see, we can go down here. Now, again, this is the boss arena leading to Calamity. You may notice there's a lot of wood and stuff here. There's a little bit of abyssal corruption, but it's not as serious. But there's lots of wood here that has been abyssally corrupted, but not the worst in the world, right? So it looks like there was a type of construction project. And if we turn backwards, we can see these logs. Oh. There we go. Lead us to these dogs. Now, these dogs are not like the typical dogs we've encountered in the base game. They're not even like the Chaos dogs we encounter in Blighttown and such. These dogs have suspicious black scales with a little bit of yellow in them as well. Weirdly enough, that happens to be the same color scheme as Calamity. I wonder why. You may also want to know that internally they are referred to as the Black Dragon Servants, in the same regard that we have the Capra Demon, who has the dog serving him for his boss battle and such, are also known as the Goathead Demon Servant. So we get the idea that these dogs are likely undergoing some form of draconification and are in the service to the Black Dragon Calamity. They're essentially his pets. Now again, the reasons for why Calamity are here are never elaborated upon directly. Large Silver Brave Warrior. Again, we can see this little trickle. Eventually, of course, this would become a huge waterway in the future, right? And become a massive river that we will die in if we fall into. But as we can see from this wood and stuff, it looks like there was some construction project building a kind of dam or sorts. Or something to maybe help regulate or possibly even expand the waterway. There we go. As we can see, that construction had halted. During all the chaos that's been going on recently. And now that Calamity's moved into this area, well, not much hope there. There he is again. We can see that he is very much in this area. If we go down there, he will then try to shoot fire down upon it. I'm not falling for that, you stupid lizard. But again, before we even do any of that, we can still get an idea that, hey, if you haven't noticed already, there is no Undead Burg at this period. The Undead Burg is only, as we recall, about 100 years old, more or less. Since and these events in Oolacile take place at least 100 years or so before that. We can now see also that there's all these waterfalls and things. This would become the massive lake, which the lake beast, or the Hydra, as it's also known, would end up taking up residence. This would also form the cave, with which we would both be able to find Dusk, and later Manus's little dark portal, right? All the way back here. Again, none of this exists yet, but this is something that will happen in the future as the terrain does change with all the water that's going to be flowing in, and making this gorge even more of a gorge. How are we able to, also, how are we able to kill Calamity? Isn't he one of the Everlasting Dragons? Again, I talked about the Everlasting Dragons in past episodes, so I will not repeat myself, but again, just like other Archdragons that I've talked about in the past, they have an immortality. This does not mean that they cannot be taken down. This just means that they are essentially never going to age as immortals. They can, in fact, come back, though, as we see with the dragon zombies in this world of fire. That is not necessarily ideal for them. The Hydra swim all the way from Ash Lake? No, it was likely a specimen of Seath's. Again, I talked about this in a past episode in the lore play as well. So. Again, we see these lamps that are being used by Oolacilians, apparently. Let's get our shortcut that we were not able to activate last time. As we can see, it's all powered by sorcery. Very cool. This will give us, though, our shortcut now for the future. There we go. Because I know I'm gonna die, chat. Let's just accept that here. Oh, what do we have here? A rather cheerful-looking chap. Just sorta chillin' with a strange mask. He's got himself his little doctor's bag with a nice candelabra. Definitely strikes us as a fancy sort with his rather upscale clothing. But he's also, as you can see underneath those fancy coats and roses and stuff, he has this leather armor. with all these daggers and blades and such. Crossbow bolts and the like. So definitely someone who, while definitely wanting to look like a proper gentleman, is not someone to be taken lightly. The mask also, and along with the overall color scheme, sort of gives him a bit of a shady-looking feel. Marvelous Chester, smash or pass. I am not gay, so pay us.
Let me guess.
Whoopsie. So he talks about being snatched by that shadow of the hand, much like us. If we say no to him, he'll kind of just move on from it. But the answer is that, like us, Chester was also sort of grabbed by Manus and dragged into the past for one reason or another.
Yes, of course. Exactly what happened to me. We are both strangers in this strange land. But at least now there are two of us.
Mm-hmm. So the point, of course, that he's making is that, yeah, you know what? We don't really know each other. You're not really familiar with this place in this weird world in the past. But you know what? That's okay. We can now sort of work together by him selling us stuff and me buying it, because that's what cooperation is like. Equivalent exchange, right? Again, see all the stuff that he's able to sell us, including sniper bolts and things. Now, stuff like this might hint that he is from Carim. He uses a sniper crossbow and things like that, so maybe, but again, regardless of where Chester is from, he is clearly a shady-looking sort by the fact that he sells us alluring skulls, again, skulls with human souls in them, and humanity. The fact that he also has Lloyd's talismans, despite this, also doesn't speak too well to, to his past with the church. Right? Plus Homeward Bones, again, stuff from Undead and the like. So again, this is a character who we don't get to meet in the base game, but seems to be another Undead in the Undead Burg, who just so happened to be unfortunate enough to get dragged into the past by Manus. Is Chester farther from the future, in the future from the player? It's difficult to say, but based on just like sort of the general timeline, he's at the very least in the same period as the destroyed Undead Burg, most likely. So probably not too much farther into the future. There have been, of course, people who have tried to make a connection with Bloodborne.
So long.
Yeah. Trying to be like, Chester maybe is supposed to at least thematically allude or hint at Bloodborne. The problem with that is that Chester's model actually existed as far back as the base game. He is a cut enemy. For fans of Demon Souls, you may recall the King's Ministers, the rotund, always smiling enemies who serve their king Alaunt. Well, in the time when we were going to have, Gwyn and Kings and all that stuff going on, it was not Alaunt, it was Gwyn and things like that. And he would have his own ministers. These would include some fat ones. You can actually see concept art of that, and they would be riding some of the boars, like the boars we would fight in the final game in Undead Burg with the armor. But we would also have these tall, thin ones. Some would have a great sword and would not have the coat, and then those with the coat and the top hat here would have the crossbows and be rangers. Chester is essentially a reuse of that enemy model, which is why he has some unique interactions that isn't consistent with other player characters, quote-unquote, NPCs, because he's not a player character NPC like us, right? He's not wearing armor. This is, in fact, his model itself. So again, if he's supposed to be a hint at Bloodborne, that definitely wasn't the original intention at all. He was just another one of several enemies that were designed for the base game of Dark Souls. You also, again, find this to be the case for many entities in the DLC. Like Calamity. Calamity was also a cut content from the base game, as was the Sanctuary Guardian. That was originally an enemy designed for the Izalith areas, whether it's, Blighttown, Quelaag's Domain, the Demon Ruins, etc., right? This is going back to the hints of the Sanctuary Guardian being a demon, right? Again, go back to the war and the whole idea of them capturing and taking prisoners of war, like the demons we see ultimately working at the Undead Prison. What we see here is the same idea with the Sanctuary Guardian essentially being taken and used as a guardian for the mausoleum. Why are the gods so concerned about that? That they would be granting these demons the power of their lightning and stuff and having them guard this mausoleum for the Oolacilians. Very suspicious. Again, all tied together here. But it's the same thing with Chester. He is also an enemy model who got repurposed in the DLC to be a quote-unquote friendly NPC. Though again, he's sort of the patches of this game, as...
Oh, still alive, are you?
Should very easily find out.
Anything that you might need?
Alright, we get to talk to him now?
Did you happen across Knight Artorias?
Not yet.
The legendary abyss walker from the old tales.
Uh-huh.
Well, if you haven't, it's just as well. He's a colorless sort, if you ask me.
Now, in the Japanese dialogue, it's very similar, but the idea seems to more or less be that Chester gets the point that the legend isn't all it's cracked up to be, right? That when you actually meet Artorias, he's not quite the person that you would think he is from all the stories and stuff about him, right? It's very obvious that Chester is trying to avoid talking directly about what is going on with Artorias, and as we will learn more, Chester does a lot of things that seem to be in the effort to quite subtly and not so directly get us killed. What does he mean by the colorless sword? Sort of like the idea that, that he, he's kind of a bit more of a miserable, dull, like, boring person than you would expect. And we will see exactly what he means by that when we go into his boss fight. Lost Eyes lit the Sanctuary Guardian, yeah. So then we move here.
Long.
Oh, actually, let me double check. We'll make sure there's not the other dialogue.
Think of any.
Yeah, let's see.
So, what
There
did
we
that
go.
giant mushroom make you do? Not that I care. It's none of my business.
So again, he's very curious about the whole thing with Elizabeth and stuff, because again, if you talk to Elizabeth, she will actually mention Chester. We might be able to actually have that conversation with her once I inevitably die.
I've little to talk about, really. Oh, you know me. What do I know?
Yeah, what do you know? Alright.
So long.
Yep, there we go. Now, we do have some cut dialogue and stuff related to Chester, which would wrap him up in quest lines such as stealing the wolf ring, which we would have to retrieve and stuff like that. Again, you recall we get the wolf ring in the present era from Darkroot Garden and stuff like that. So the idea that he would be stealing Artorias' ring. There was also stuff about him potentially doing stuff in relation to Dusk and what have you. With Elizabeth, rather. And so it's like, It seems like they had a lot of different ideas with what they could do with Chester, but they kind of scaled that back a little bit. Granted, he is still a very suspicious individual. And unlike, say, characters like Shiva, he does do a lot more shady stuff for us during our journey. Again, we can see the townscape or whatever for Oolacile. I wanted to meet Artorias, but not like this. Yeah, I'm sure for a lot of people that weren't familiar with the marketing or whatever, seeing Artorias as a boss must have come as a shock. Alright. His animation are also pretty unique. Yes, Chester does have some unique animation stuff, because again, he's an enemy model. So he was, again, designed not to follow the player animations and what they can do, but again, whatever the enemy was designed to do. And again, like I said, we're going to see more enemies in the future that follow a similar pattern, such as Calamity, such as, a certain prisoner. So this is nothing new there. Now again, I don't have that many souls on me, so I don't mind if I'm going to die here. Yeah, it's not like I'm missing anything either here. I'm not going to use this. I'm going to take this out because I don't want to accidentally run out. Okay. Alright, chat. Let's see. Let's see how this first encounter... Oh, boy! Artorias is around here? We gotta go find him, chat. Elizabeth told us that we'll go and save him. Before the abyss gets to him. Oh. Oh. Keep in mind the direction that you see him jumping down from, though. That'll be important later. Oh. Now, as we can see, Artorias still seems to have some of his sanity, but now, as he looks upon us, he sees some of that black shadow following around him. He tries to reach up as if to try to speak to us, but then it starts coming over him, and he feels the shadow of the abyss consuming his mind. In cut content, we know that he had dialogue, so this was likely an intention to have him talk during this type of period, but they would ultimately remove this and make it so that before he ever gets a single line of sane dialogue with you, he would simply die. Oh, rather, well, mentally die, I should say, rather than physically. Now he's gonna die to us physically, though, too, right? So... Oh, God, the damage. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. This is gonna be a long fight, Jet. Oh, damn. Oh. As we can see, he's completely corrupted by the abyss. He also does not have any use of his left arm. Ow, no! Yep, that's what I thought. And now this will probably be the rest of the episode. Your weapon is lacking. We shall. The dagger has gotten me through everything else so far. Though we might end up changing the armor if I need a little bit more. Just need a little bit more protection. Oh, okay. Here we go. Talk to Elizabeth here.
Struggling, are we?
Yep.
If there's anything I can do, never hesitate to ask. Thou art from a time far, far ahead.
Yep.
There are many things I wish to ask, but I know that I must not. The perils of our time are overwhelming enough.
So the point is that she ultimately wants to kind of know the future, but she's like, you know what? It's better I not know the future, how it's going to happen. Doing so, it's best that we just kind of keep our knowledge to our respective times, right? Which is, a rather sane take. What dagger is that anyway? I have 2 daggers. One of them is the Priscilla's dagger, and the other one is the jagged dagger you get from the ghosts.
Was thine eye glancing hither? Thou needst not hide thy wonder. I am a mushroom, after all.
So she understands. She knows that she's a bit peculiar for most humans. No mention of Chester, though, yet.
May the flames...
Yeah. Well, let's keep going. Wait, you killed Fuzzy Waifu? Of course I did. I'm a thief. I stole her heart and then her soul. Alright. Should be able to very quickly cut through here. We go through here, then we go over here, and then we take our path down. Wait. I could have swore I brought this thing back up. No, I 100% brought that thing back up. How are we supposed to save him anyway? This game is telling me that murder is the answer to everything. Again, that is sort of the limitations of the game. Obviously, in almost every encounter that we ever have, we are never given any potential to actually talk with or reason with characters, whether or not they have the potential to be reasoned with, right? Though, obviously, in this case, the idea is supposed to be that, ultimately, when Artorias finally sees a sane person in Oolacile, he, ironically, is when he finally breaks and succumbs to the abyss, which forces us to put him down, right? So you could say that there's a tragic irony there for the hero. That is, ironically, the humans that he's trying to protect, which ultimately break him. Oh. Oh. Damn, this range. This range is gonna be the death of me, chat. Damn. Well, back where I started. Damn. Oh boy, this is... Oh, this is gonna be, Ooh. This is gonna be hard. Ah, of course. This is gonna be a long one, chat. Damn. Yeah. I could have probably dodged that one, but I didn't know how long it was gonna be. Ooh. Ah, oh, damn. I dodged into it too early. Damn, still too early. Okay, sure. Sure, whatever you say, Artorias. I thought I had that pretty down pat, but what do I know? Damn. Yeah, I gotta dodge back more. Oh. Can I please get a hit in? Thank you. Ooh. Damn. Damn! Yeah, I can't get greedy. Oh. Ooh, damn. I hit a wall. Oh. Ooh, damn. Yeah, just keep running, boy. There we go. Ah, damn. That comes out so quick. Damn! How did I dodge it the first time? Oh. There we go. Damn, double. Does the same thing as Sif, huh? Damn. I didn't know that Miyazaki was also almost inspired by Naruto's Talk no Jutsu. I don't know about Talk no Jutsu. He seems to be the antithesis to that. This abyss substance that he throws from, where does it come? I don't know, inside him somewhere. You figure it out. But yeah, this will probably take up a lot of the episode, depending on how bad I really am with this dagger. No, I think this way's still the better way. Have you thought about using a good weapon? No, Sneed, this is the dagger run. My dagger hasn't let me down so far. Why would I use a great sword in pyromancy like I've used in every other playthrough I've ever done of this game? What is the fun in that? Loki and good weapons don't mesh together. There we go. See, this time it came up. I don't know why it wasn't working that way last time. I must have sent it back down without even realizing. At least the run back isn't that bad, though again, the Stakes America were a wonderful addition in Elden Ring, weren't they? Alright. Ah, damn, I rolled the wrong way. Rolled. Come on, can you let me? There we go. Damn. Alright. Yeah, I can dodge that. I just gotta stick to his, bad side. Oh my god, are you serious, buddy? Yeah, I gotta make that straight. Oh, that hurt. Oh, come on. Oh my god. Oh. Ah, well, that was just greed. Again, cannot go for double hits against him. It's gonna be a long boss fight, chat. With this dagger's damage, it's gonna be a long boss fight. Damn. Damn. Oh. Ow! Hey, buddy. Oh, damn. Why'd you roll? I did not want him to roll. I wanted him to block. I don't know why he rolled. Must have been from the last input I did when I got hit first, though I don't know why that was delayed then. Should have been interrupted, right? Black Knight Sword. Listen, just because I use Black Knight Sword in all my other playthroughs doesn't mean I'm going to resort to it this time. You guys have watched me suffer through Seath with a dagger. What's the difference here? Woo! Oh. Oh. Oh god, I'm out of alcohol. Well, you're gonna need a lot more of that to get through this stream. This is the part where the lore stuff ends and it just becomes, can Loki beat Artorias? The answer is probably not. Nope. Yeah, that was death. I was like, damn it. Maybe try using the golem set while blocking with 100% shield. But my stamina! Did Artorias animation cancel? I'm not sure if he animation canceled, but he does do different different combos. Alright. I could maybe get away with using the full stone set or Havels, probably, if I had to guess. I could probably do that, because the bigger problem here is the fact that I whiff half my attacks fighting Artorias, even when I do dodge him. So I'm, like, losing half of my damage. My already minuscule damage. Man, I love it when we have bosses that don't give you any opportunity to do multiple attacks in one go with your daggers. Man, I really love that. Oh. Oh my god. Damn. Should have dodged to the side. Damn. Messed it up. Do I even have an alternate weapon I can use here? Let's see. For the high level fights. No, that's a bottomless box, yeah. Well, let's see. What do I got, chat? I have quite a few weapons, which I could most certainly turn to if need be. Also some shields, good shields as always, but again, I want to keep myself generally light, so... I don't have Black Knight Sword, unfortunately, so I'm not going to be able to use that. Can't use my the weapon I'm most familiar with. I guess I could always use Drake's Sword if need be. Wouldn't be the worst option, especially with its L2 ability, right? There's also Moonlight Greatsword, but I think, yeah, I need some intelligence and stuff in order to wield that properly. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Maybe I could make something out of the regular standard Greatsword. We'll take it out just in case. And then, Felchia, no. Yeah, everything else would just be me, having to experiment with new weapons I'm not familiar with. Though, hey, if it does more damage... Alright, let's, replace the Jagged Dagger, because it's not doing as much against him. With the mace, maybe. Oh, no. Hey, buddy. Damn. Thought I was out of range there. Okay. There we go, we got it in. Surprised he did it twice in a row, but you know what? I'm grateful. double swing. Damn. That was just me playing horribly. How much more can I reinforce this weapon, by the way? Let's see, 2 more large titanite shards, that'll cost me a pretty penny, and then having to pay for that's only 200 souls, though, for the actual upgrade portion. It'll give me, what, like, a little bit extra damage, but I don't know if it'll be much. I don't know, we might end up farming just so we can upgrade some weapons to try against him to use besides my daggers, but we will see. Hey, buddy. Yeah. Plus 12, one more. Alright. I need to play aggressive, but I need to make sure that I'm actually dodging. Yeah, I don't think I think the dodge rolls are, yeah, they're hurting me. Damn. Take the heal. Yeah, it's slight, but I can do it. Oh, frickin' this attack, man. Really? You're not gonna do it, my buddy? There he goes. Oh no! He's not! I don't know why he won't do it! He's at the health range. There we go, now he's 100% gonna do it, yeah. Why won't you do it? Now he's not doing it at the health range he's supposed to. This is actually kind of driving me crazy. What the hell? What convinced his AI that he didn't need to do this now? There we go. What? What is it? There we go. Oh, yep, should not have dodged, should have just strafed. Oh, okay, he's gonna do that. Oh, damn. That's still too early. Come on. Damn, that was a little bit of whiff. There we go. Oh. Come on. Woo. Take the damage. Come on. Woo. Come on! And he's dead! Woo! That was an odd one. That's too late for that, right? Yeah, it's too late. If I kept committing maybe, but whoo! It's done! There we go. Thanks, Pokemon. Thanks, Pastor. Good GG's all around. Thank you guys for pushing through. The fight is done. Had to switch over to another weapon to do it, and give it a few upgrades. But you know what? It is done. We'll go back to the dagger. And you know what? If necessary, I will, in fact, keep on upgrading the mace and we'll stick with it as a weapon in the future. But for now, let's keep on doing what we've been doing. First, let's get what we all been wanting out of this. Place I can warp to. There we go. Alright! Let us begin by talking about this wonderful tower that we have here. Woohoo! I'm Barong! I have no idea what that means, Iron Man, but you know what? I'm gonna take it as a yay! Anyway, as we can see, the corruption has been leading us all the way into Oolacile proper. It has consumed much of this tower. You may notice that on the edges here is a very familiar relief. While it is not exact, it is in fact very similar. Where is it? There we go. It is in fact very similar to reliefs that we see in relation to Anor Londo. Again, the blossoming flower inside a sort of sun imagery. Again, I'm pretty sure this is a stock image, but it seems to be used very much intentionally to represent Anor Londo influence. We see it return in Dark Souls 3, so yeah, makes sense. It's one of the few images from Dark Souls 1 that actually returns in Dark Souls 3, exactly as it was. So that's cool to see. As we can tell, looking here, this area gives us a sort of plaque of legends in fights and things like this. We use this for the PvP arena, because this is in fact a coliseum of sorts. Hence the circular rotunda and everything. Makes a lot of sense. We can also look closely, and if you actually go into these arenas and stuff, you'll see statues of the Silver Knights. Again, notice that blossoming flower with sun image at the top, looming above the arena. Again, sort of giving this idea that Anor Londo is watching. Again, you have the Silver Knights representing the people and the duelists that would be fighting in this. You see the image again that we see for calling up a lift and stuff, which seems to be associated with Oolacile. And again, another mini image associated with what we saw earlier. This is very much more similar to the Anor Londo one in between it. So you can definitely see this idea of influence from Oolacile of Anor Londo. We also have these bonfires, which tells us undead were likely involved in this, though it's a special blue fire for warping us over to these arenas specifically, again, using Oolacilian sorcery. Very curious, huh? Right? Yeah, see, 2 on 2, 1 1 1 1, right? So, what this is telling us is that the, it seems like undead were being thrown into an arena. Now, when you get, the crystal and stuff for this, I'm pretty sure we don't have it. Yeah, do I have it already? I don't think I do, but just to make sure. Yeah, I don't think I've received it yet. I think I have to actually be part of the arena for that. It's fine. But the arena basically mentions how there hasn't been an overseer for a long time looking over this. Again, definitions of long are very vague in this case, but it can be referring to the entire incident of Oolacile and the like. But the point is that the overseer is long absent from these arenas, but we're still able to use them, which tells us, okay, before Oolacile was going through all this chaos, it was throwing undeads into arenas with the idea that they would go to Anor Londo afterwards. Huh, that sounds a lot like our undead mission, doesn't it? You may also notice these peculiar statues that ornament the top. These statues bear a striking resemblance to Gwendolyn and his form, except they have all been defaced. There is no head on them. They've been removed of that. And there is an Oolacilian white tree branch staff held in the statue's hands instead of Gwendolyn's typical staff. This is, again, even more interesting, because now it tells us that the Oolacilians were not just working with Anor Londo, but specifically with Gwendolyn. Again, recall, from earlier episodes, I talked about how Gough was talked about Gwyn essentially leaving the task of handling the undead curse, and the humans in general, their guidance, to his sons. So, again, you have the idea that he leaves his firstborn with kingship, but his other son, ostensibly a daughter, Gwendolyn, is also heavily involved in helping guide the humans. In what respects? Well, we see that here. It seems that good old Gwendolyn, fake bust and all, was supposed to essentially stand here, cooperating with this system for funneling undead into sort of death matches, where the victors would ultimately go to Anor Londo, in seemingly an earlier iteration of the undead mission we're familiar with. Again, recall, there is no undead burg here, so the modern undead mission that's only been going on for the past 100 years or so is not active. This is, again, an event that take place about 200 or so years ago. Oh. Is that an item, or is that a plant? I think that's a plant. Oh. Yeah, that's definitely a plant. In there, we have good old Gough, or Go. It's pronounced in the Japanese like Go, but the English pronounces it Gough. Take your pick, I don't mind. It is very similar to how Smo is stated, so again, that might go into the idea that Smo is a giant himself. But regardless, we can see that the area is locked and we cannot access this tower where the good old Hawkeye is staying. Now, if you recall, Artorias was, in fact, jumping down from the direction of this tower upon the enemy who was facing in the direction as if he was coming from the township. Which, again, all of that makes sense if we believe that Artorias and Gough actually were able to converse through the wall up until that moment. Again, this is not too crazy, as Gough actually is completely familiar with Artorias and the fact that he is corrupted, so the idea that they may have actually possibly had a last chat together through that isn't that shocking. Now, we can now see that this is the Oolacile Township. Now, unlike the magic aura that we see outside in the Royal Garden, this one is quite thick in black particles of the abyss. So we can tell how serious the corruption going through down here is. It was starting to appear over at the tower up there and around certain areas of the garden, but most of it is much further down, deeper at the roots. Very Miyazaki. There we go. Some large Titanite shards! Yay! When I don't need them anymore. Can I get some chunks? Another proud Knight Soul. Now, again, you could argue whether these are supposed to be Silver Knights, because, again, if you recall from the descriptions, they specifically mention hollows, but I talked about this when talking about the Islithian witch, whose soul is missing in the altar there, that it's quite possible the chest where we loot a quote-unquote hero soul actually belongs to her, and that we're supposed to ignore the specifics of the description, like we've had in several other cases, such as, if you recall, the man-eater shells. Oh no! Alright. As we can see here, these are the citizens of Oolacile who have been corrupted by the Abyss. They have these head growths that are very mushy, much like what we've seen. The Abyss is portrayed here as very much almost like a mucky ocean. There's this sort of like liquid aspect to it, connected to water that goes into it. You have also these multi-eyes and things of that nature. We will see that again repeated with, of course, Manus. But we will get there when we get there. And again, we can see the clothes themselves are a bit tattered and raggedy and stuff like this, but this is supposed to represent essentially your average, mundane citizen, someone who isn't necessarily versed in sorcery, as we can tell. It seems that despite the fact that Oolacile is in fact a sorcery culture, sorcery is not necessarily their be-all, end-all. Oh. How could I forget? There's someone I need to talk about. You may also, of course, hear the screams and stuff in the background right then. That was, of course, telling us that, hey, there are actually people who are out there, alive and sane, who are being attacked by these horrors and are trying to get out. Again, recall that just like we don't see the Stone Knights, we don't see surviving Oolacilians. Oolacilians who we realize must exist, as we would later see their architecture being built out to help construct the Grave of Artorias and such. So, again, even though we don't get to meet any of these characters as NPCs, there is, in fact, the implication that there are, in fact, sane people out there, just as there is the Oolacilian Church out there, and there's that Oolacilian Fort, and there's all those Stone Knights with their swords out there. Now that we've defeated Artorias, we can now talk to this old chap.
Oh, for Juniper's put some...
And what does he have to say?
Did you really slay Knight Artorias?
He's
I
surprised.
heard the Abyss found him first, but even still, that's absolutely treacherous. Yes, magnificently so.
Now, you may notice that Chester is initially taken aback by what we're saying. Again, he clearly wanted us to go face Artorias ourselves and most likely die. He knew that that would most likely be a death witch, but we are a hero, and we managed to defeat Artorias. So now he's like, oh, that's shocking. But you know what? He's like, oh, actually that's great, because what this means to him now is that you've defeated one of the biggest threats to him that he has to sneak around, and you've tired yourself out fighting that hero.
Believe it or not, Oolacile has brought the abyss upon itself, fooled by that toothy serpent. They upturned the grave of primeval man and incited his ornery wrath. What could they have been thinking? But to you and I, it's all ancient history. You have to ask yourself, does it really matter?
Now again, Chester, if you've noticed, has been putting us down, expecting little of us, wanting us to kind of like put us down to his level where he's kind of like, who cares what goes on? And we can see this come through here. He really, and it's more clear in the Japanese especially, is that what he's saying is that he doesn't expect you to have heard of this, but Oolacile is actually responsible for all this chaos they're going through. So why are you bothering to go and help them all when they're the ones who were fooled by this serpent? Presumably Gough, naturally, right? Because Goug's the only... Oh, Gough or any of the primordial serpents under Gough are the only ones that are really interested in sort of, dredging up man's past with the abyss, right? Now, we don't know exactly why or what exactly Gough was doing here that was so connected to Oolacile, right? But we'll learn more as we dive deeper. Now, the important bit, of course, is the fact that, obviously, Manus was this ancient man who was woken up by the Oolacilians themselves. So Gough reached out to Oolacile, specifically, say, the royal family, like he did with the four kings beforehand, right? And they then learned about Manus from Gough, and then woke him up. His wrath has now been brought upon them, and they are now suffering for it. So, right? So he's basically saying, Oolacile basically brought this upon themselves. Why are you trying to be the hero and be the legend like Artorias? Why are you trying to pick up for him, right? There's no point to that. Why are you trying so hard, right? He wants us to be as bad as he is, right? He wants this thief to be as much as a thief as Marvelous Chester be. Now he's got nothing else to say here. Nothing I want. Oh, actually, those homeward bones are looking mighty nice right about now.
So long.
Yeah. Now, again, another big revelation is the fact that Artorias was in fact corrupted, right? This was not something that we were supposed to know about, though Alvina does hint at it in the base game. But here, the game is sort of making it abundantly clear, right? The legend of Artorias repelling the abyss only told half the story, right? So the idea is that the legend is that Artorias walked the abyss, but he ended up falling halfway. That's the reality, right? He didn't make it all the way to the finish line. But maybe someone else, an unsung hero like ourselves, will pick up where he left off and fulfill the legend for him of walking the abyss. Maybe we will. Now again, this is not denying the fact that he did walk the abyss. It's simply not acknowledging that he didn't complete the legend, which would be that he walked the abyss and defeated the quote-unquote dark wraiths responsible and all this stuff. Now you may notice we don't see much dark wraiths. Again, they could also be a party that is involved here, if you want to believe that the Proud Knights are them. Totally possible. We can't say for certain, right? But again, whether it's Silver Knights, whether it's Dark Wraiths or whatever, we do have a lot of dead knights here in the area. Undead or otherwise. Oh, so close. So close. Now, do we see? Is she here yet? No, not yet. Okay. We'll come back later for Ciarin, then. In the meantime, let's now try to fulfill Chester's little mission. Oh no, I need to use some humanity first. That's fine, because we need to, good way to test this. I don't think 10 is... I think it's 5. Yeah. Okay. One more, then. No, gotta reverse hollowing first, so we reverse our hollowing here. There we go. Then we'll kindle. Gonna bring that up to 10. Then we'll bring it up to 20. So that way we don't have to worry about this anymore. And because I don't want to embarrassingly die to Chester and lose all my souls, we will use some of those souls that we have on us here. Perfect. Soul of a hero. Oh. Level up. Vitality needs to go even higher. We need as much HP as possible for the fights ahead. Alright, I am now a little bit stronger. There we go. Love to get their headpiece so we can read that directly, but it's fine for now. Oh. Perfect. Perfect. Hello? Oh! Strange, I would have thought Chester would be here. I may have to reload the area. We'll continue on in the meantime and try not to die and lose my human... Oh, use my human form. Good on us. Now, as we can see, these are the Oolacilian sorcerers. They wield the white tree staves as expected, but as unexpected, they have more advanced corruption and stuff, more cerebral corruption, because they are sorcerers with more intelligence and stuff going for them, so it makes sense. But this seems to tell us that, again, there is a class divide. There is the common citizen, and then there are the sorcerers, who have more of a elite, you might even say noble status in Oolacilian society. This, again, isn't too surprising. Even if Oolacile is peaceful, that doesn't mean that, you know, they're this perfectly utilitarian culture. Love, peace, and happiness and all that stuff. Well, there's always going to be a class divide. In this case, it's about those who know or can afford to learn Oolacilian sorceries and pursue them, and those who have not. As we can see, they are the ones who tend to lead the common folk. They also will sometimes make a laugh, very much like a stereotypical haughty Ojo-sama laugh, for those that are familiar with, anime. You may recognize that with the way they go, ah, while raising their arms. Very much a classic. There he is. There's Chester. Now, as you may have noticed, Chester here is invading us. So therefore, it is not to be unexpected here. Woo. He's got some bleed darts to throw at us here, right? And he's dead. There we go. There we go. Marvelous Chester is vanquished. Again, this goes back to the idea that he sees that we are weak after after defeating Artorias. He's like, okay, well, he must be exhausted now, so I can take him out now. So he uses an eye orb, the safest option available, to invade us and go his own path. As we can see, not work out too nicely for him. We're still too strong, soul of a brave warrior. Gonna put this on because we're gonna need it in a sec. I don't wanna jump up there for Titanite lizards. was like, I know there's at least one of you in here. Nice. Thankfully, these enemies are squishy to my dagger. Very, very squishy. As we can see, the abyss in Oolacile has caused these buildings to fall apart. Bridges are collapsing. Buildings are coming together. They're falling apart everywhere. What a shocker, right? We will find that the abyss in this case takes the form of a swamp. Takes the form of like an abyssal swamp. There's that laugh I talked about. Oh, damn. Heat-seeking, huh? Oh. Perfect. Woo! One down. You may also notice there are now 3 chests here. 2 of them are empty. It is a room filled with the sorcerers. So why are 2 out of 3 empty here? Again, last time we saw this with Gwendolyn, it was used for the purpose of hinting at how he had given one of the brass armor sets that he had in his possession to the Dark Moon Knightess, so that way she could be a firekeeper and a Dark Moon Knight at once. She'd be able to do the good fight, but also hide her hideous form so people wouldn't be as put off by her being a firekeeper, right? But what's in chest number 3? Dark Orb. So this implies that there are dark sorceries here that are all been taken out and is out of storage and being used by some of the sorcerers that seem to own these towering districts, right? This is where we find like a huge swath of them, right? We also find that the item in question gives us a basic idea of it. Now keep in mind, the sorcerer on the brink of madness. The sorcerers of Oolacile. So, again, it seems to be the idea being that, when the sorcerers basically hit some level of craziness, again, like Seath, we can't say for sure whether this insanity can be considered actual insanity versus the fact that they are just sort of, you know, consumed by power and desire, and they're acting immorally, right? Again, we have this sort of double idea of what madness constitutes. As we can see, they're able to think, they're able to store away things, they're able to lead the others and stuff. They have more cerebral matter than the basic grunts and stuff. They clearly are still capable of a good degree of thought. So, the idea that them being on the brink of madness means much of anything? No. So the question then is, what is that madness and immorality that led them to discovering these dark sorceries? Now, unlike, say, the dark power that we see in the base game, there's a lot more focus on physicality with the dark, so a lot more physical damage is being done by dark-type attacks. Again, this would later be sorted out in later games when they finally add dark damage as its own elemental type. But for the time being, it suffices. Man, you're still alive. There's the I'm sorry carving in the possession of the sorcerer there. Has that out to listen to as they wish. Again, we learn that these carvings... Actually, I think this is the first time yeah, this is the first time I mentioned these carvings. Yeah, this isn't Dark Souls 3, my bad. Anyway, so again, for the first time I get to talk about... where's the consumable? There it is. The I'm sorry carving here, as we can see, the idea is that Gough, while he's imprisoned, has been carving arch trees and using their lumber in order to... Well, he didn't take the whole arch tree, right? But he takes arch tree wood, and he's been carving them to create these sort of little mini totem carvings, right? Now, this is part of a special kind of enlightenment, specifically having to deal with, in Buddhism, the idea that you keep on working at something and repeat the craft again and again and again, and through the repeated works, you will achieve that inner nirvana, essentially, right? So, in this case, we can see how Gough is essentially on a spiritual journey for himself. He has a spiritual imbalance there, and he's trying to find his center by making these carvings with various emotions sort of imbued into them. And we hear that from, you know, them having Gough's voice as he says, I'm sorry, or happy day, you know, those types of things. If there are survivors, what determines who is corrupted? Touched by the abyss, more humanity, chance? I'd say a mixture of the first and the last, right? Touched by the abyss, and then a little bit of chance goes into that. Could humanity be a factor? Sure, maybe. But a lot of it has to do with, obviously, we see this corruption all around. If you get some of that corruption on you, you're probably a goner, right? But not everyone's necessarily going to get the corruption. Again, in our case, we're able to navigate this entire area and defeat all the bosses without ever actually becoming corrupted ourselves. So, clearly, there's a way to do it. Are you saying if Artorias was smarter, he would have survived the abyss, should have leveled intelligence? Intelligence, in a sense, yes, but not in the way you're suggesting, right? But again, keep in mind the fact that it's the I'm sorry carving that this Sorcerer of Oolacile is keeping on her person. Do keep that in mind. It is going to be important for later. Oh. Woo! I did not mean to die! Well. I don't know why I jumped. I don't know why I jumped. Oh. Let's come. There we go. Let's compare. Woo. I've had plenty of Loki deaths this one Pokemon. Clearly you weren't here earlier. Oh. I don't know why I'm doing these jumps so much now. Managed to go like most of the stream without jumping to my death. Actually, you know what? You're right. I've had many deaths, but I haven't had a Loki death falling. That much is true. You know what? I take back what I said. You're right. Ow. Go on. There we go. Thank God you die in 2 hits. Come on, buddy. Come on. Again, as we can see, the fact that Oolacile's been under this trouble for a while and has been dealing with it as a sort of short-term but ongoing disaster with which there are survivors is evident in the fact that we see that despite all this collapse in infrastructure and stuff, someone is building these platforms to help kind of put a band-aid on the issue so they can at least get around. Oh. Oh. There we go. As we can see, there is a mimic, and what's inside the mimic chest that they're keeping safety secure? A very good carving. So again, we have the sorcerers are a sorcerer carrying around a sad Gough carving or Go carving, and then a mimic which takes the happy Go carving, essentially the very good, the very jovial type, and locks it away. So you can see the divide, the sadism inherent to the Sorcerers of Oolacile, and how they're essentially saying, you know what, this thing, we don't want this thing getting out or anything. We don't want anyone else to get it or have it, right? So we're going to lock it away in this mimic where it'll never be seen again, right? It'll be safely secure in there. But the sad one, we want to hear Gough being all sad going, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. They love to hear that. And this sort of, again, gets across the type of personalities are leading the abyss-corrupted civilians in Oolacile. Not good people, folks. Oolacile ain't sending their best. Now, the bigger question is, how am I going to get all my all my souls back without dying. There we go. Right. Oh! Woo! Woo! Well, I'm poisoned. As we can see, they also have poison type attacks. So again, the dark is being expressed not just with the physical, but also with poison. Which is, again, very fair, all things considered. Now, thankfully, it doesn't matter if it's dark poison or not. Game mechanics-wise, we can still use this. Hey, Night Scout. Couldn't the plank bridge have been made by Artorias when he came through? You could make the argument, but when he's in the... when time is of the essence to save Princess Dusk from her captivity and all that stuff, and the idea is supposed to be that he would, of course, ultimately get there to be corrupted, is he spending the time to construct a proper wood plank for something that he only has to go across once and theoretically twice if he wants to go back that route? Oh. Much more likely to be the people we hear screaming in the background being like, ah! Alright, I'm still missing my 26k. If Artorias can't get across, he'll need it regardless. I think we've seen from his jumping abilities, he's perfectly capable. And once again, it goes back to my point of, let's not ask how NPCs and stuff get to where they're going. It's never worth going down that rabbit hole unless the game itself tries to bring it to attention. He has a jump button. He doesn't need architecture. Yeah, if that jumping around there was anything. But anyway, let's focus on... where are my souls? I guess my question should be, where's the sorcerer who has my souls? Because I remember there being the sorcerer back there, right? Ah, you know what? But I did kill her, so... might be, yeah. Might need to think that through some more. Yeah, there's no other path, so gotta go back up here and find my way back down. Ah, damn. Yeah, this doesn't take me anywhere. This is a waste. Now we're gonna move ourselves up here. I will find my way to safely get across these places. Okay, there we go. Wonderful. Should be a sorcerer around here. Well, bye, clearly. I got myself lost. I don't know how... Man, take away an NPC to know where I can drop down to plunge attack them. Now I don't know where I'm going. Again, you can see, though, the buildings and stuff, how they're over the edge and all that stuff. Kind of tipping over. Oh. Whew. We're gonna go this way now. Again... Get a little help from the developers. Let there be light. And so by using a type of light magic, again, this helps connect the pinwheels potentially to the Oolacilians. and sort of where their fiery magic comes from in their service to the Lord of Death. But as we can see, we now are entered this secret chamber using Oolacilian light magic. And what do we find in the chest here that they're hiding so wonderfully? The silver pendant! Oh, that's curious. Most curious indeed. Now again, unfortunately, as we can see here with this silver pendant here, engraved with the crest of Artorias. This is a very important thing. They did not have this initially. Now that we can see here, though, the idea that, okay, it is something that was purposefully engraved with Artorias' crest. Now, it is one of the old treasures of Anor Londo to it, and it was given to Artorias for facing the Abyss. Again, so the idea being is after the events of New Londo, they have these dark rays they have to go on, and all their abyssal powers and everything. Alright, well, you might have to go against an Abyss or whatever, Artorias. So, in order to help deal with all that dark, abyssal magic and all that stuff, we'll give you one of our treasures, the silver pendant, which can do so. It'll be engraved with your crest and everything, so this is yours now, and you can now use it in order to go against them and all that. Well, that's great. So, as we can see here, effectively deflects the dark of the Abyss, especially in its magic forms, which we will use for, of course, the Manus fight. Now, as we are... Oh, no, I was going the right way. I go this way, and then up. Like I said, I don't know where I'm supposed to plunge attack from and get my souls back, but I'll just assume I already got my souls back and I wasn't paying attention. Ah, no, damn, I actually know I have to find myself around again. Yeah, I gotta do this. Yeah, okay. It is what it is. Oh, what souls do I have? 2 brave warriors and a proud knight. Oh, I don't think that's gonna be enough for me. I think we have to go a little farther there. Yeah, I picked him off the floor? Okay, good. Thank you, Night Scout. Couldn't tell in that fight while I was talking. Wasn't paying attention to what I was grabbing. I knew it was around that area, but I was like, I don't remember. I thought it was outside that I dropped. Ah, you know what? But they don't always drop them exactly outside. Anyway, as we were talking about earlier with the Mimic and all that, we can see the divide and the sadism. This also ties into the Oolacilian sorcerers being responsible in large part for the fate of Gough. We will see how that goes as we continue on. Now again, we go deeper and deeper. Now, come on. There we are. Now we have to make the Death Gauntlet traveling across from here. Never a good time. Yeah. Never a good time. Beautiful. Alright. Gotta hope I can take this. Yeah. Now again, that is the place we want to go to, because that will be our shortcut. Again, notice the incredibly large manor we are going through here. This is the largest of the buildings in terms of sheer size overall in Oolacile. Compared to, like, say, these towering structures and like, this seems to be a quite important person's abode. As we can see with the way the buildings are crashed in, we're able to get in through some of the upper floors. Whoop. Now this is another annoying place, because it's got a lot of enemies, so... Yeah, glowing eyes, we got you. I see you. Whoop. We lose rubbish here. Gotta try to throw these enemies back at us, huh? There we go. Did you fight Chester? I fought his Phantom already. Why is it in a chest? Shouldn't Artorias have the pendant? That's the question. And why hide the pendant as well, right? So, clearly Artorias received the pendant. He's using the pendant. But, now, it's being hidden by Oolacilian magic. What could have possibly happened there? Anyway. Now to deal with. Notice how the ceiling structure has collapsed here, forcing us to have to find other ways across if we so wish. Trying to remember where the sorcerer was exactly. Ah, there you are. There you are, girl. Ooh. Oh! Ah! There we go. One down. One down, many more to go. Another thing I would wish that this game would remove is how much its FOV just freaking blurs out. Like, holy hell, man, right? Oh. Good to get this heal in. There we go. Gonna remove this from my hotbar before it gets me killed. Again, we can see a fireplace there, so it definitely seems like a very homely type of area. Soul of a hero. Going up here first. Again, we'll notice that this again is quite a large, complex structure. Oh. Definitely for someone of status, maybe the sorcerers, you could say. Maybe someone higher above them. After all, if the elites are to be considered, if the sorcerers are to be considered the elite class, the equivalent to nobles, if not nobles proper, then above them may be the royalty. As we can see, I'm not gonna get through there at the moment. Thankfully, though, we find more Oolacilian magic for a hidden chamber. Now, again, how this would have worked if there was still a walkway here, who knows? Oh! Who knows? There we go. There we go. Gotta try to pick it off so it's just the sorcerer left. Come on. There we go. Ooh. There we go. Alright. You can see that dark fog once again with all that poison. We can see, of course, bodies hanging. That's not good. Again, thanks to the buildings we're able to traverse around. We could not actually use the front entrance for anything, as we can see. It just kind of leads into this abyssal swamp. This is something that would not be the last time we see the Abyss portrayed in such a manner in the series, but this will be the first time that we get a proper look at it in this form. As we can see, it has a lot of other squishy stuff, little tendrily little matter, much like what we saw at the tower. So as we can see, Oolacile is, like Elizabeth says, quite literally sinking into the abyss. Now, before we go that way, gotta make sure we got all the other enemies and stuff dealt with here. Oh, gosh. I forgot how you would get down here exactly. Yeah, it's slipping my mind. Okay, I don't think it's an illusory wall, right? I think I gotta jump down or something. Or was it roll here? I'm gonna try rolling. Oh, didn't even have to roll. Now this is another mimic. Again, we can see the idea that this was a homely place, at least once upon a time. Oh. Perfect. We'll climb down there in a sec. so much death. You can just hear it in the air. Alright. We'll go down here. Twin Humanities. What a shocker, Humanities here. Here, from me. There we go with our corpse. Boop. And then down here. Alrighty. Let's do it again. We don't have to go outside. Yeah, we don't need to go outdoors. Woo! Now again, there is that rope and stuff, which if I have a bow and arrow or something, I can break it anyway, so shouldn't be that big of an issue. Good. Pop this just to make sure I don't want... Every little HP might count, you never know, right? Actually... I do not have Lloyd's talismans, unfortunate. Oop, that's what I was afraid of. Woo! And there. As we can see, it is another mimic. And this one carries the crest key. Now, this crest key... Oh. Wait, it's under keys, right? Duh. There we go. Again, it's got a somewhat of a peculiar shape, but it's fine. As we can see, the way that it's designed, this, the crest engraved into it has magic to it, which allows it to seal the door that we go through with a powerful spell, so that way you'd have to use the key for it. Which tells us that whoever owned this place, they wanted to make sure, again, another fireplace, they wanted to absolutely make sure that, Gough, who is locked with that, with that key, no one was going to be able to go in and visit him or say hi. Now, granted, the area does have an open top and stuff, so there is still a question of, how much, is there a magic barrier or something around it, or is it purely for the door itself? But it becomes absolutely clear. Yep, okay. Just gotta double check. Definitely not a mimic, right? That definitely, Gough is meant to be kept in there so that way nobody else can, like, let him out or force him or whatever. Again, how exactly Gough would, stay locked in there outside of his own volition, again, you can debate that. Again, if we do assume that there is some sort of magic barrier that would physically prevent him from leaving but still allow him to shoot out his arrows and stuff, well, maybe. Maybe then, in that case, it explains beyond just the fact that, as we will see, he is going through some spiritual troubles. I don't think we need to go this way, right? I think we just take the... But I wanted to go down that ladder, chat, so... Yeah. Do you think the Oolacilians only became cruel after the Abyss made them insane, or did Dusk get overthrown in a crew? Dusk is only a princess, so there isn't really... Oh, damn, I made the mistake. Okay, gotta stop being distracted by chat. Dusk is only a princess, so like getting overthrown or not. I mean, if you're talking about the Dusk's family being overthrown, sure, but Dusk herself, she's our naive little teen girl is not I don't think she's in charge of anything. She's just enjoying her youth playing around. There we go. There we go. There's the cord. Boop. But yeah, we will see as it progresses that it becomes obvious that this is in fact the the royalty as a whole being deposed for sure by a coup by these Oolacilian sorcerer elite class, essentially, right? These corrupt sorcerers, right, who are actually managing things for them, it would seem. As we can see here, the sorcerers aren't necessarily friendly to each other. We have one of them just strung up with the Dark Fog, so that's one of the spells which we saw in those chests that was missing, right? Has now been collected, right? And it sort of highlights this idea of the dark as a fog. This idea that, in theory, it's relatively close to humanity, but, you know, despite it being so close to us, it is also the most toxic thing, right? So just as the idea that humans can be, especially cruel to their fellow humans, as shown by the man strung up, who should be a fellow sorcerer, right? That is human nature. It's not necessarily friendly to itself. It can, in fact, be the most terrible, terrible poison upon itself. There we go. There we, no. Wait, actually, yeah, this is the way we go. I made myself so lost in these Oolacilian streets for no reason, honestly. It really isn't that complicated. In fact, I'm pretty yeah, I'm pretty sure, can't I? I think I just should, yeah, I should be able to go this way, right? No, it was lower down, okay. I'm overthinking it. I gotta go this way, okay, yeah. I'm overthinking it for myself. There we go. Dust the only royal we know of without even a passing reference to a king and queen, plus people seem to praise Guinevere, Lada, Orlando, or Felinor in the Ring City. A princess doesn't suddenly mean they're in charge. Again, Felinor and Guinevere are princesses because Gwyn is the king, their father. So again, Knight's got that's not good logic. You could say maybe she's respected, but again, Guinevere has duties from her father which she's fulfilling, which is why she is so important, at least in the current undead mission. Same with Felinor. She's doing a very important mission on behalf of the king. So yeah, no. Alright. Oh, we did get the bloated head, right? So, as I talked about earlier. Where the hell is the stupid head? There we go. So again, supposed to be a resident, common citizen, you know, basic idea is that it's the common people, right? These are the commoners that live here, right? Whose humanity went wild after being devoured by the Dark of Manus, right? So the idea that once they were afflicted with the abyss of Manus, right? They had begun and gone through this corruption. So as we can see, it's very much about, you know, actually having the corruption, you know, touch you, afflict you. Much like a disease would. There we are here. Ah, no, that's not the item I want. It's under consumables, so. Can we get a little bit more HP? We'll try another hero. Oh, that was already on my hotbar? Okay. And, is that enough? Is that enough? Yep, just barely. There we go. A little bit more. Let's keep giving ourselves that HP. Now, let's go back now and look over at our good old pal Chester. And, oh! What do we see? We can see Ciarin here has erected a grave for good old Artorias. Even has his, even took his tassel and stuff. Right? So took some of the rubble and stuff, took a bit of his tassel for the back of his helmet and things, and did all that. Now, before I chat with her, though, let's go chat with our buddy, good old buddy Chester. So again, we defeated his Phantom after defeating Artorias and seemingly exhausting ourselves. He thought he had his chance then. It's like, okay, well, you didn't die to Artorias, but now instead of me trying to sneak around Artorias, I can just kill you myself now. But, well, we're back.
You have quite some nerve. Or are you just thick? Fine then. What is it that you need?
So again, the last thing that Chester expected would be that after he invaded us and we defeated him, that we would essentially come back for more of his services as a shopkeep, right? Like this was the last thing, and he's like, well, like it's like, do you got a bit of a large head, or just kind of, is it just too thick for you, right? Or are you just a bit too dumb to kind of realize that, hey, I freaking like tried to backstab you, right? But hey, he still does it because we wanted to, so can't complain there.
Well, you've quite the nerve.
Yep.
I've had enough of you.
For sure. He doesn't want to talk to us anymore now because we ruined his plans. And well, that's that. Again, the only other thing we can do, of course, is to attack Chester at this point, really. But, we'll keep him alive for a little longer. And now let us talk with good old Ciarin.
You. Is that not the soul of the man who fell on this spot?
Yep.
He was a dear friend. I wish to pay proper respect with that soul.
Uh-huh.
Would you be willing to part with it?
No.
Yes, of course.
She pauses.
I must not be presumptuous. Artorias would not have approved.
Right. So again, this is our first encounter with Ciarin. Again, she sees the soul of her, as we will later learn, beloved, right? Artorias, unfortunately, was finished here. She, of course, erects a grave in his honor and memory, right? Our wonderful assassin. One of Gwyn's 4 knights, the Lord's Blade, right? The King's Blade. But here she is, heartbroken over his passing. She wants to just take his soul so she can properly mourn for him. Will we do so? Well, we say by default, no. And when we refuse to do this, she starts sort of being like, oh, okay. And then she thinks about it, and then she's like, no, I mustn't. Artorias wouldn't want me to, right? So again, it's clear that she was thinking that she could just, as an assassin, she could just, slit our throat, take the soul by force. But you know what? Artorias would not approve of that, right? Good, honorable Artorias, right? So it gives us a good insight into who she is versus everyone else, how important Artorias is, how her ideas of honor aren't necessarily the same as Artorias and the other knights.
Something else?
Uh-huh.
Have you changed your mind?
Nope.
Then you have no business with me.
Uh-huh. And then we can continue on. Let's go talk to a Gough. There we go. Now again, keep these Gwendolyn statues in mind. For the future, they will become relevant in a few minutes after we talk to our good old giant pal here. We use the crest key to get through the magic seal on the door. Climb our way up. And there he is. Again, we can see these woods of apparently arch tree bark and stuff like that. We can see the bow that he loves so much. We can see all the shavings and stuff from all his carving, and we can see the products of all his carving, right? Now, obviously, when we use these carvings, they're a lot smaller and stuff, right? But, again, that's gameplay. Much like his armor, when we acquire it, can just kind of perfectly fit around us, right? But it does, again, get to this idea that he is trying to achieve Satori, right? So he's trying to find enlightenment through these repeated carving actions, right? This is his way of trying to find his spiritual center.
A visitor, have we?
Yes.
Thou must be the one who freed Artorias.
That we are.
An old friend he was. Thanks to thee, he left this world with honor intact.
Yep.
And here I am, retired and blind.
Mm-hmm.
Of little help to thee, I'm afraid.
There we go.
Farewell, human.
Yep.
Lead thy life as thou seest fit.
So as I said previously, there's clearly this idea where he was aware of Artorias' state and stuff, likely because, again, he had one last encounter with Artorias before he jumps down and then meets us and then succumbs fully to the abyss, right? So you have this idea that as Gough is sort of somewhat in a somber tone, telling us how, you know what, I'm glad that Artorias at least got to meet his end with dignity, right? You being able to kind of put him down and out of his misery so he wouldn't continue being a dark abomination, right? But here I am. I can't really help you, right? Like, I'm retired, and now as we can see, looking at his his helmet. It's filled with resin, which was used seemingly to blind him, right? So they kind of poured that stuff on him, right? So he doesn't got good use of his eyes anymore, the good old Hawkeye, right? Very mocking of him. And now, well...
But Manor, is the black dragon posing the duress?
Of course. Yes.
Yes. I thought as much.
Uh-huh.
He's called Calamity.
Uh-huh.
Ferocious dragon indeed. Even mighty Anor Londo dared not provoke his ire. I see little good coming from this, but my intent is to persevere to the bitter end.
Now again, when they talk about Anor Londo, the term used is referring to the idea of an Anor Londo of before, a previous, a prior, you know, sort of this idea that we're not talking about, like, necessarily Anor Londo today, we're talking about Anor Londo sometime in the past, some vague long ago, right? So there's a big comparison that Gough is making there. Presumably would be the time of Gwyn, right? And we will see that being sort of built upon in the future, right? But we can tell the idea that Anor Londo, even at its full strength, you know, not when Gwyn was still around, when they had their full use of their forces, you know, half of the forces didn't become Black Knights and then go burn in the kiln, right, and become these wandering ghosts, right? When Anor Londo had its full fighting force, even they were like, you know what, we don't want to go out there and try to deal with Calamity, you know, terrorizing the world out there, right? Like, they don't want to have to deal with him. And as we can see, he's specifically sticking around seemingly pretty close to Lordran, right? But they consider him, like, you know, he was too much for them. So Gough's very skeptical about a human, ordinary human, not even a god, not a giant, none of that, having to go through and actually, you know, challenge this mighty black dragon of you know, ill omen. But you know what? We want to do so anyway, because we are the hero. And so Gough is like, well, do you intend to do so no matter what? Yep. He appreciates that.
Good, good. What is bravery without a dash of recklessness?
Uh-huh.
I've taken a liking to thee, and I owe thee much for thy service to Artorias. Now, watch, and see how Gough hunts dragons.
So despite the fact that he is blind, Gough still shows why he was a hero back in his day, right? Even though he thinks he's not going to be of much use in his current state. And as we can see, if we ever attack him, again, here's him trying to feel around. Oh, there's my bow. Okay, now I can grab it, right? Because again, can't see. Time to shoot through the pillars. Ready's the bow. Yeah, he's been here for so long, even his body's under mountains of dust. He hears Calamity roar, and manages to get the trajectory right on target. Land a good blow. Now again, if he's able to do that, why is it all of Anor Londo wanted to handle them? I guess they were just afraid of the head count.
Sure, shot was never loosed.
Uh-huh.
That bat will be grounded for a good spell.
Okay.
The rest is in thine hands. I await good tidings. Dragon slaying. Knighthood's highest calling.
So again, we can hear how Gough is very nostalgic for that time when they were hunting dragons and all that. Again, keep in mind, this is a very old period for him, right? And Anor Londo went through an entire age of fire being good, the fire being in good, tip-top shape, without that being the case, right? And now, after so long, we can see he apparently decided to retire in Oolacile, but, he's got that resin in there, so, and we know about everything of the sadism of the sorcerers and stuff and how they took his carvings, right? So, kind of gives you the idea that the Oolacilians, specifically after they started uncovering madness and started dabbling with the dark of the abyss, weren't being too kind to him.
Hello there. What of Calamity?
Uh-huh.
He is an ancient dragon.
Yep, so he's one of the old dragons.
Sky don't know. He will not be put down easily.
Uh-huh. We will deal with Calamity, though, in another episode, because after Artorias, I don't want to go through another boss, I'm being honest.
Dragons shall never be forgotten. We knights fought valiantly. For every one of them, we lost 70 of our own. Exhilaration, pride, hatred, rage. The dragons teased out our dearest emotions. Thou will understand one day. With our twilight, old thoughts return in great waves of nostalgia.
Alright, so essentially when it talks about 70 of our own and all that, that is a localization thing. There is no specific number in the Japanese script. It's just basically, the point being is that, you know what, we lost many facing them, right? Like, basically, the dragons were quite a formidable foe. We lost so many to them. Again, highlights the importance of Seath betraying them at the end and helping close out the war that way, right? The less dragons yet they had that they are dying to is very, very greatly appreciated. But as we can see with Gough, for him, he loved that. He loved that enmity you felt where it's like, oh, you killed my comrades, right? When you get that feeling of like, oh, yeah, I got him, I shot him, oh no, Richard, no, you're dying, no, right? That sort of dichotomy of like the good emotions and the bad emotions. Both of them were something that really, now that Gough is a old man, right? He's in his twilight years, right? Like, he's really kind of like, he's retired now for good reason. He's kind of like looking back on all, he's like, he's so nostalgic for that time. Like, you know, the good old days, the glory days of a hero, right? Fighting against those dragons for the gods and all that, right? That was something, right? Despite Gough's warning, I feel like Anor Londo could have still stomped Calamity if it had any motive, especially late mid-year. Yeah, I think they definitely could. So I would have to assume, looking at what we see with Gough's abilities and what we can presume from just the general Anor Londo forces, the idea of distracting Calamity long enough with an army of Silver Knights, again, we saw what happens, right? Calamity lights up the, if you go down into the gorge, like, Calamity just lights up the entire place with his flames. Imagine that being an entire army of soldiers that are supposed to just, you know, keep their shields up and hold them off. You can imagine that you could have entire throngs of soldiers being killed by that. So it makes sense, right? You want to get that good shot in and stuff like that. You gotta hold him down. I have to imagine the major concern for Anor Londo was, in fact, the death toll. And why now, in the present, Gough is making that point. Like, Anor Londo today wouldn't even think about it, right? They're like, they're at half the military capacity they once were at their peak, right? Gwyn's, of course, gone now, so they got their, arguably, their best leader and warrior out of the picture and stuff. And then you add on top of that the fact that Gough is again now old and retired and all that stuff. Like, this isn't something that you can imagine Anor Londo doing now. And again, even back then, it was something that they were very hesitant to do. Just Gough sniped first, but again, what's the opportunity, right? We gotta kind of go with the plot kind of telling us. Well, conveniently, Calamity was flying by, made a roar there, and gave blind Gough the signal needed, so that way he can shoot that arrow and land it, right? Again, how much you want to argue for plot convenience? It is what it is. We ultimately have his testimony saying Anor Londo wouldn't have bothered trying with this. Not worth it. It's too dangerous, but it's definitely too dangerous for you as a human. But if you want to do it anyway, that's the way of a hero. You know what? You need a little bit of recklessness as a hero, right? Again, this is very much evocative of Old King Duran and Demon Souls for fans of that. But again, this is not a Demon Souls lore play, so we'll focus on this. Anyway, look at the items we got. We see Dung Pie. Naturally, what is good old Hawkeye gonna take a dump here, right? Like, there's nowhere to get rid of it unless he tosses out, so may as well sell it to us, right? You got, of course, Homeward Bones and things. You got Prism Stones. Then you got the carvings again. We got the hello and thank you carvings here that he still has on him, right? So, it is what it is. I'm going to actually get a bunch of these.
Farewell, human. I await good tidings.
You could even have a question about why he's got some of those undead bones here. But again, considering this was Arena where undead seem to have once fought, maybe not the craziest idea. Now we move all the way over back here, where Ciarin is. Now she's gonna stay here for the time being. But you know what? I'm not so cruel. I will give her the soul.
What is it? Something else? Have you changed your...
Sure.
Thank you. You are very kind. Please take this. I no longer need it.
She gives us her weapons.
May the Lord guide thee.
So, again, this is the use of the king. This is very significant because, again, Gwyn is consistently referred to as the Great King in the Japanese script, especially by characters in dialogue, right? King is generally, we only see the term for king being used in item descriptions, especially because it pertains to, most of the time, events in Gwyn's life before he became the Great King of Kindling, right? So, very notable that she says this here. Goes back to the idea of this being in the era of the Firstborn again, only 200 years ago, right? So again, long after Gwyn's gone, but well before the Firstborn would be driven out. But now we see that she has given us her weapons. Gold Tracer and, there we go. Gold Tracer and, I forget what the other one's name is. Is it Silver? Yeah, there it is. Silver, Dark Silver. Okay, so both of them are called Tracers. But again, the idea with these daggers is that, again, one is, of course, a Dark Silver, the other one is Gold, and they're supposed to kind of give the idea of, like, you know, they work as a pair, where the Dark Silver... Okay, let me talk about Gold Tracer first, then, before I get into this, right? So, the idea is that when she uses the sword as one of the 4 Knights of Gwyn, that she's able to kind of use the gold as a way to, in the darkness as an assassin, right? Where she's going into the blade, the gold glittering color of the Gold Tracer is able to distract them, so that way the true deadly threat, the Silver Tracer, is able to get in there and hit them with the poison, right? So, that deadly poison will get at them while they're distracted, right? As we can see here, though, in the ring, which I think I still have, right? I think I should have this. I'm pretty sure I picked this up. Yeah. Again, here it mentioned the Hornet Ring. It's okay. So Ciarin's dagger laid waste to Lord Gwyn's enemies. Now again, it only says dagger singular here in the base game. There's no way the developers could have. The localizers could have possibly foreseen that Ciarin would have 2 blades, not just 1. Right? Again, this is just the matter of Japanese with pluralization and stuff, right? So again, this could work either way as either singular dagger or more than 1 dagger. We learn, of course, it is 2, so when we get to, say, Dark Souls 3, the localizers will update their translation to reflect that, so even though the Japanese text wouldn't change, they would acknowledge that, okay, yeah, she had blades, plural. This is a lore playthrough. I sense a murder incoming. No, Puck! You think I would try to assassinate an assassin? Why would you say such a thing, Pokemon? Why? Why would you do that? I mean, what could I possibly be meaning to showcase beyond what we already got? Well, first off, let's actually point out that Ciarin also has a little bit of an unconventional model in that she uses default stuff. She doesn't have a proper face. She uses the default model, right? Well, we can see from her equipment and stuff that she has blonde hair, right? That she has her face, of course, covered by this mask and all that. And much like with Gough's armor, how it'll come with the resin in the eyes and all that, her armor will come with the hair attached. So, yeah. We can also, of course, see she's got some fancy-ass boots, I will say. Anyway. Unfortunately, even though she gave us her weapons, which would indicate that she is giving up this life, right? She no longer has the will to fight as the king's assassin, right? She can no longer serve Anor Londo's monarch on account of the fact that her beloved is now gone, right? She's now going to go off and mourn. She could potentially be the identity of the corpse, the female corpse, with the Hornet Ring we see behind Sif's tomb. But because that this is an event happening in the past, and we can potentially kill Ciarin here, well, you never know.
You humans.
Yep. Always taking, right? So again, kind of highlighting this idea that humans are greedy, they always want stuff and all that. Well, you know what? If we want stuff, then she's gonna give us that stuff we want. A death. She uses Lloyd's Talisman, again. A point I actually want to highlight by backtracking over, because I now realize I missed an item when we were running around grabbing stuff, right? But as we can see, even though she gave us her weapons or stuff, if you kill her after she gives us the weapon, if you try to kill her after she gives you the weapons or whatever, when you would presume that there'd be no reason for you to want to kill her or whatever, you clearly been friendly with her up to this point, she still has her weapons equipped and stuff, so that's an unfortunate detail, but it is what it is. Who knows? Maybe she was like, you know what, I got my spare equipment, but you know what, I'll give him my my other daggers, because you know what, it's about the symbolism. Hey, you never know, it could be. Ooh. Got some throwing daggers and stuff, but again, gives us the idea that yes, she is an assassin. Oh. Come on. Want to make sure I don't get hit by that at any point. Ah, damn. How many of those you got, girl? Come on. Ah! Oh, come on, that wasn't a backstab! Oh. She is the luckiest assassin in the world. Her back is frickin' rock solid. There we go! How many of those Lloyd talismans do you keep? Did Lloyd, like, give you the whole batch? Oh! Woo! Come on, go for the throw. I'll do this. Ah, no. Unlucky. It's fine, it's fine. Who needs healing? She's only got a little bit of HP left. Freaking Gold Tracer, man. Oh. Woo! Oh. Oh. Oh! The Battle of the Daggers. There we go.
Oh, you humans, my dear
Now, keep in mind, this is also in the Japanese script, not included that little line about Artorias, so it's a nice little detail that they included. I'm very happy. I don't know if that was something that came from Miyazaki at all, but they just never made it into the script or whatever, or if that's a localizer thing that they decided to add on. Either way, I appreciate it. It's a nice little detail. Now, again, as we can see here, stuff on the Lord's Blades. We learn that they are a group of women, right? A robe common to all of the Lord's Blades, these deadly women shift nimbly between layers of darkness, etching streaks of gold into the night air and planting visions of terror into the minds of their targets. So again, we can see how they very much serve the same role as the Dark Moon Knights do in the present day, right? So the idea that before we had the Dark Moon Knights with Gwendolyn, after the gods all left and all that, we had the Lord's Blades for the king, right? When there was still a king in Anor Londo. So we can kind of see how after the events of Oolacile, with Ciarin leaving, the Lord's Blades likely fall apart as an organization, and with the gods, of course, fully leave and all that stuff. Well, they kind of go the way of the dodo, and Gwendolyn has to set up his own order of knights in order to fill in the gaps of punishing the gods' enemies out in the world of men. But we get the idea that, again, Ciarin goes out there, she assassinates the enemies of the gods. This might even include undead, of course. And then, when we go through the idea of them using similar weapons and stuff to her, the fact that it's all a women group, this makes sense as we see that at least all the Silver Knights we encounter are all male, seemingly, and as well as the Black Knights and stuff. Now, Dark Souls 3 would, of course, reveal that it is possible for there to be female Silver Knights, right? But these are, or at least very least female knights in general, whether or not you could say they are Silver Knights technically, I'll leave that for you, right? But the point being is that it's very much obvious that there are, of course, standard female knights in Anor Londo society, but they are exceptionally rare, right? Most of them, their form of knighthood is by becoming clearly a Lord's Blade, right? Becoming an assassin, right? Sort of this feminine sort of stalker of the darkness, right? That goes through and defeats the enemies using underhanded tactics for the gods, right? But is very much necessary still. In comparison, we will now look at her, there we go, her mask, right? So, again, the Cyclops headpiece. Now, again, they use the term Cyclops here, but it's really just saying one-eyed, right? The idea being, of course, there's one big eye on the hood, right? So the idea is that this is a hood with a one eye to it, right? And we can see this on the armor as a whole. There's a bit of a one, watchful eye of the gods, sort of this eye of providence type of idea going along with her outfit, right? And that's what all the Lord's Blade have. But Ciarin, was determined to earn this soft porcelain mask as a unique decoration of honor. For those, again, the term here for decoration of honor is referring to the idea that when you are a knight, you are being conferred your knighthood, you would receive a gift with this knighthood, right? Like some sort of reward or something. In this case, the knights would, of course, say ask for something of that nature. And with Ciarin specifically, we see that she just wanted a simple porcelain mask to hide her face, along with her hood and all that. And of course, this is where her ivory locks of hair are sort of lined with that in there for the helmet piece. Anyway, back to the chat now. Good morning, I guess. Hey, I am. Why do the palette talismans break into puffs of smoke? Are they made of chalk? Listen, it's white holy magic. What do you expect? Them to be puffs of black? Puffs of green? That's poison. Actually, no, purple would be poison in this game. This is in Dark Souls still. There we go. Alright, so again, I want to go back now because while we were talking about Lloyd, I completely forgot to pick up a certain important item. The term in JP just means that it's just there in the edge. It doesn't mean that's necessarily attached or whatever. It's talking about the idea that her mask on the sides has her armor, has her hair sticking out, essentially. Just to clarify there. Again, that is, in fact, yes, it is her hair. Speaking of hair, let's see if I can get these guys out of mine. Go away! Go away! Ow! I swear he's gonna knock me down into the abyss. Hey, buddy. Alright, get over here. Not expecting you. I'll take that. That's a good trade. Oh. There we go. Good, good, good. Pillage body. Oolacile. Hello, Murmur's Metal. Welcome to the chat. Alright, come on. Come on. Come on, buddy. They're not gonna bother. Okay. Yeah, so I was so busy distracted last time by the gardeners or whatever and running by, I never did pick up the item here. Now again, as we can see, while they're busy doing their gardening, they're focused on their task. They're all fine, right? But then we go to this. Woo! Oh, that's gonna hurt. Ooh, that was a close one. You'll never catch me alive! They very much will. There we go. But as we can see, whether it's a trap or because the item that we took from this corpse was something they intrinsically know shouldn't be messed with or whatever, they have kind of gone after us, right? Ciarin's ponytail looks very similar to what the Painting Guardians have on the backs of their hoods. Who might have inspired who? In terms of like when the Painting Guardians came to be versus the others, I would say Painting Guardians probably came second, right? Because obviously Priscilla wasn't around until later, while the Lord's Blades have been around for seemingly forever. We also don't know if other Lord's Blades do their hair the same way Ciarin does, right? So, again, could just be a concept artist having a style thing going. You never know. Do all Gwyn's assassins wear dark blue like Ciarin or no? Again, it's not clarified, but the implication is that the hoods and armor that Ciarin wears is the same thing that all the Lord's Blade wears. What makes her stand out from the rest as one of the 4 Knights of Gwyn who was distinctly honored with that, that privilege, right? That status, right? Is the fact that is her mask, which she asked for, right? That's the only thing she asked, is she wanted to have that simple, plain porcelain mask, which again goes to the point that she's very much someone, she works in the shadows, she doesn't need anything flashy or anything. She's happy with that something that simple that helps with her job of keeping herself anonymous and allowing to instill the image of fear into the god's enemies, right? Oh. Oh my goodness. There we are. We're not talking about Dark Souls 3 here, Night Scout, but I will simply say the Painting Guardians we see there and the stuff going on with Filianor with the Painting Guardians have to do with Gwendolyn and therefore have to do with after the painting and stuff are around, so. Again, this isn't Dark Souls 3 lore play. We've already covered the Painting Guardians and that. Looks like Maria's there. Maybe someone's got to type. Anyway. I died falling off because I was looking at chat, as is I am wont to do. I need to stop doing that. Especially when it's... Oh, look, there we got ourselves some humanity. Nice. Come on. Perfect. There we go. There we go. We go down here now. We take the shortcut. Again, as I talked about earlier, remember the statues? Because again, we see we took a path from the arena, and then after a very short walk out of the arena, we suddenly find ourselves in this hallway, surrounded by the statues again. So again, there's this path taking us to this building, another large building, though it's clearly not a domicile, as it was with this giant manor here, right? Now, if you were to ask me who this manor belongs to, based on what we have acquired here, we of course have the key, which has locked up Gough. Again, who would be wanting to lock that up? Could be any of the sorcerers, though, but it could also be the ones above them, the royalty, who would be in charge of keeping that and doing so on their behalf, right? Again, if Gough has approached the Oolacilians, especially the elite class, they would be talking to the royals. The royals would then be looking into Manus and stuff like that and uncover them, and if they are now aligning with Gough and turning against the gods, then obviously having Gough kind of walking around free, it makes sense that they would have him imprisoned. Now, does that mean that they were involved with the sadism and torture caused by the Oolacilian sorcerers we see now? I would be skeptical, especially considering, again, as Night Scout was bringing up earlier in the stream, we have no mention of the king or queen. We only have Princess Dusk, who is hiding out with her wet nurse mushroom friend in their royal garden, out in the outskirts, away from everybody, right? Where she's, playing all this stuff, with her her sorcery and all that stuff, right? And then gets captured by Crystal Gold and blah, 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 yeah. So we have this idea that, okay, we get this idea that it looks like there's probably, again, a coup, some type of overthrow, where Dusk managed to narrowly escape, though, given the fact that she exchanges stuff for souls, you have to question if maybe she really did escape, or she just turned out to, happen to turn undead. And that sort of poor Dusk, as we'll later learn Dark Souls 3, who would survive very much long, seems to be basically among the curse now. So, something to keep in mind. The more important piece of evidence, though, we have here is the fact that when we look here, we have a red Titanite slab that we are able to collect from the chest inside this manor. Again, Titanite slabs, of course, are the domain of the gods. We also, of course, have a mimic, which, of course, was also where we had Gough's key being kept, because they wanted to keep that hidden and secret. Again, goes with the idea that, oh, we're low-key betraying the gods right now, so we want to be very careful about this kind of getting out or whatever, right? Makes a lot of sense with all that. And then you add on top of that, oh, red Titanite slab. They don't feel any need to hide this or anything like that, so this is likely something that they were gifted by Anor Londo. The fact we have mimics in Oolacile is very telling about the relationship between Anor Londo and Oolacile. If you recall in the base game, we only had mimics going from Sen's Fortress beyond, right? Like, these are, again, things that were kept strictly in the domain of the gods, but clearly Oolacile has a close enough relationship with the gods that they're able to acquire some of these mimics, they're able to have some of these great slabs of the blacksmith deity, and they're able to have it even infused with the power of fire, right? Again, the gods of fire, right? Now, as we follow these Gwendolyn statues to their source, we find this big blocky building, almost like a fort, right? It's got the little castle, I don't know what the name for them is. I'm sure castle experts will tell me. Oh. There we go. Right? But it clearly looks like a secure facility compared to the domicile we were exploring earlier. So if we had gone through the quote-unquote royal manor of the Oolacilian royal family earlier, it seems that the path leading to the arena proper, the actual proper path, is leading to somewhere a bit more with a function, which makes sense because the undead have to be dragged from somewhere under the watchful eye of Gwendolyn's judgment, right? Oh. I'm gonna screw this up if I'm not careful. There's only 2 of them, right? Yeah. Oh. Oh, yeah. You do that, buddy. Yeah, you come here. Only need 2 swings, I gotta remember that. There we go. Under the watchful eye of judgment, you would have undead being dragged out of here, go up the lift, and over into the arena where they would be fighting again in the zones for the chance to go to Anor Londo and stuff. Again, much like the mission, it seems the idea of undergoing a trial with overseers and everything in this case, which would allow them to be able to fairly adjudicate this, and thus try to find a stronger undead for the undead mission, which of course makes Oolacile essentially the undead burg of this time, where it's not a town for undead, but it takes undead, and brings them over to fight each other in these trials, so that way they can go to the next step, which is, of course, Anor Londo. Now, over here, we can see as we enter the building, a creature starts coming out as soon as we approach, giving us the first idea of what this place is like. This monstrosity, covered in chains, is, of course, officially regarded as the Chain Prisoner. What a shocker. We can see through this giant pole that is stuck between him. Ah! The way that moss grows on the chains that he is wrapped in. Whoop. That this guy has had it... Oh. Oh. Woo! That this guy has had it rough. Not as rough as I will, though, if I die here. Alright, can we, like, remove that? Thank you. Woo! And he's incredibly not in a good mood. Woo! He's not in a good mood at all. He's got all these chains thing, got this stuff from the walls that he clearly pulled himself out of. Not happy. If I recall correctly, he even has a glowing red eye, though I can't remember exactly where it is in all that mess. But it does give us the idea that undead, human, whatever the specifics, this guy has been given a especially harsh punishment and probably undue, right? Probably torture. There we go. Ooh, that hurt. Oh, no, yeah, I remember. I see his head now. Like, there's the head. Now, again, this is another cut enemy that was brought back for the DLC. Again, another minor role, as you've noticed. Most of these DLC enemies do not play front and center, right? Most of these scrap models we found in the game files of the base game. Yeah, with his glowing red eye there. Creeping. Oh, too early, huh? Yep. Can't do that. Gotta dodge. Gotta dodge. Ah, damn. Alright. We just gotta outdo his attrition. Ah, of course he spins. Of course he spins to win. Alright, let's get in there. There we go. And dead. And of course naturally we get some of the chainmail set. Actually, daggers are straight. Oh, why are you guys arguing about knives? What is going on here? Anyway, so as we can see, all these Gwendolyn statues and stuff with the help of Oolacile, as shown by the statues wearing these Oolacilian white tree staves, right? All having this idea that this is where the undead come from. This secure, castle-like facility. All the statues, of course, have now been defaced. Again, we see the influence of the gods here again with the little reliefs here on the side. So clearly, again, all anti-god now, but once upon a time, they were working very closely with Anor Londo on the Undead Mission project. And now we have to see, why was this prisoner so desperate to escape that he was ripping himself out of these chains from this torture? What horrors were they committing here in Oolacile? As we can see, another one of the corrupted citizens comes up with us. We can see the corruption gets even deeper and darker. Right? We can see the chains, the cells, the monsters that have broken out, right? Likely similar to the chained prisoner. And then we find this one cell at the back here. Notice the chains hanging from it? It's truly something horrifying, right? But, despite all that, in this cell... Let's use the twin humanity here. Actually, that's everything I need. I already have 2. Cool. I cannot kindle while hollowed, of course. Why can't they just unhollow me by default? Why we gotta go through all this process? Yeah, we don't need to reverse the hollow. Kindling. Don't worry, chat. We will make sure that I will have maximum Estus so I can get one shot by madness. That shall be the plan. Alright. As we can see, as we exit the cell, this giant hole in the wall isn't just for show. Something broke out, dragged itself down into the deep below. And that is where we'll be going next time. Now I'm gonna go dive, just give us a cursory idea of the place that we are now exploring here. The Chasm of the Abyss, right? So this hole. Dark, dark hole. Oh no, I'm gonna regret this. I'm gonna regret this. Actually, didn't regret as much as I want. We do see some prism stones helping lead us the way, right? Someone trying to help create a path, at least. Was that, who was that be? Who would have these prism stones, which again, as we established earlier, are likely, products related to Seath? Oh my god. Maybe it's Artorias himself? He could theoretically have definitely got his hands on one of those, right? Oh! I got sniped. Well, it was nice being human for 5 minutes. And that's where we will be hanging off next time. Did they torture Manus? I don't know. They would... I guess we'll have to go talk to Gough next time and see if he can tell us. Alright, where are my souls? Where are my souls, you damn bastards? Thank you. Okay. Like I said, that will be next time. There we go. We're all safe? Yep. Again, I want to thank everyone for joining me for this stream. For getting to hear a bit more as we go through the DLC. This was the stopping point I was hoping to get to today, and we definitely made it. Artorias was definitely a big challenge, but I enjoyed it personally. It was fun being able to go through and try to figure it out, even though I'm sad that I had to give up on daggers. There was just no way my daggers at max damage were gonna make us be able to get that done. And anywhere under the next 3 hours. We had to level up our weapons. Yeah, I'm glad you guys were able to enjoy it. Feel free to go check in the playlist for more. Again, I'll be fixing up the links in the description so that way they're more consistent with the past episodes. So again, if you want to go and purchase Abyssal Archive, buy now. It'd be wonderful if you could help support me for that. But again, that's up to you. So again, make your judgment for yourself. You have an entire playlist of episodes you have been watching or can watch if you haven't already. Check them out. Give it a little bit of a look-see, a thought. And that's all I ask of you. Again, thank you everybody so much. I can't wait to do this again. And maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll defeat Manus and then move on to the final battle. We'll just have to see how it goes. Until then, later.